Hello everyone and welcome to Weekly Manga Recap. It is 2/5/25, February 5th of 2025. I'm Nick. I'm with Quinn, and we're talking about manga today. How is everyone doing out there?
Yeah, I'm going to leave some space for the audience to say kind of what they're thinking and feeling right now, and I'm just going to kind of nod along. You know, like the TikToks that the Steve from Blue's Clues would do. Oh, damn. Steve from Blue's Clues would do a TikTok where he'd just be like, "How's it going, friend?" And then he would just sit there and like drink water or just nod at you for a while. And the idea was you were supposed to stitch it like actually telling Steve from Blue's Clues, you're like, "Hey, you know, my family is really driving me up a wall recently, and obviously, I'm scared about the environment." You know, you're just supposed to vent to Steve, and he just sits there and he's like, "Yeah, good talk. And he, I don't know, it was a weirdly dystopian part of the internet that was charming in a way.
I'll bet that it took him hours to edit those together. So
yeah, you know,
sure must have taken a lot of thought to put into that. Get hundreds of thousands of hits for doing nothing.
Oh, it was millions, to be clear, Nick. It was definitely the first one he did had millions of views.
You know, someone who was a crucial part of a lot of people's childhood got a lot of hits on TikTok. I never would have thought of that.
Yeah. Well, I don't like your attitude. I feel like you're coming down on me and TikTok. We are the voice of a generation.
No, I'm coming down. I'm coming down on Nickelodeon. It's not you.
Okay. As long as it's not me. It's really what I need to hold on to today. Now, Nick, we have a lot of series to talk about, but we also have a slight shift in the series, because normally we would start the podcast by talking about My Hero Academia, but then that ended. So then we were talking about Undead Unluck, and then that ended. And we don't want to like just continue this pattern of like inching.
Let's just work our way forward.
Yeah, we'll just like Chainsaw Man will eventually open it. We decided to move something to the front. And we're going to start the podcast now with Ichi the Witch. Because, guys, we wanted to start the podcast with something that's exciting. And I feel like it would take something really crazy happening for Ichi the Witch to not be continuing. So, yeah, we are a little bit knocking on wood. But, like, I got a good feeling about this one, guys.
Yeah, well, let's not get ahead of ourselves on that. But I do think that it's about time that we had, something different up at the front. And hey, maybe in terms of this, maybe we'll be a little bit ahead of the pack, because it's only chapter 20 of Ichi the Witch that we're going to be starting this with. 20th Hunt, the Oracle. And we start things off on a very exciting note, Quinn, with this very exciting series. It's Komugi sleeping.
No, very Nick, exciting. This is the jam-packed action series that we've been needing.
Yeah, jam-packed with action, and also, lore dumping. We gotta get that into.
Gotta get a little lore dumping in.
So yeah, Ichi, after his confrontation with the world hater magic, is woken up in a bed after recovering. It looks like he kind of tucks Komugi in, makes her more comfortable, and then sits up and looks around. And it turns out Descartes is there, but she's got a fainting couch in this room so that she can be lounging in it like a boss.
Yes, those are the kinds of chairs only reserved for the people who rule and the people who suck.
Very little in between there, isn't there?
Yeah, exactly. It's extremes. Only two kinds of people on that couch. You either rule or you really suck. I don't make the rules.
Okay. I'm not sure what the rule is either, but all right.
Okay.
Also, there's a fruit basket next to her, so I think that someone may have brought Ichi some get well fruit, and I think that she's in that first panel. She might be eating it. because she's making a little face if you zoom in that kind of makes it look like she is. But she's not doing it like that when you turn the page. So that
Yeah.
be just a little thing.
She might just be housing an orange before Ichi has the time to respond quickly.
Just chipmunking it.
Teskross, you have to chew those.
No, don't. So Deskara says, like, yeah, you were out for 3 days, of course. And she says, you better thank Kamugi later because she watched over you the whole time. Of course she did. What a good girl Kamugi is. And the spell that Deskara had cast, the one that put him in a little bubble, it was healing him the entire time that was happening. It finished healing him up while he was asleep. And so she says, hey, can you move? Because we got to go talk. And leads him away down a staircase where there's all sorts of fancy banners strung up. And she says, look, the entire area around the region that you were fighting was wrecked. There were a lot of people who were injured because everyone was panicking, trying to escape. But the village did not suffer any major damage, and no one was killed. So she's just recapping, this is all damage was caused. Oh, and one person was critically injured, pointing right at Ichi, which is a nice little note. And she says, yeah, look, the association, we're working on repairs. We're also continuing the investigation. And of course, Ichi asked about, hey, what about the magic? Because he said he was going to destroy the world. And Deskara says, yeah, so we need to talk to you about that. Because it's called the World Hater Magic. And she brings him to a big, fancy mirror. This thing is like 3 stories tall and about as broad. And so she leads him through the surface of the mirror. They just walk through it, and a terrifying entity appears right in front of Ichi's face.
It's very unnerving because it's a giant, like, huge panel of her at her face, and then you go to the next one, you're like, oh, it's because she's like an inch from Ichi's nose, which is
right in front of him.
Very unnerving if you're not that kind of people person.
What's that popular animation series right now? The Amazing Circus or something
like
that?
Digital Circus or something?
Amazing Digital Circus? I haven't watched it.
I know there's the one with the clown girl everyone's horny for, but she's sad.
Imagine that, but also it's like, a FNAF game, so the character jumps in front of you in order to scare you. That's basically what happens.
I have to imagine there is some product that is an exact overlap between those two entities.
There are so many like FNAF wannabes out there that have that exact same kind of gimmick to them, but very slight variations on the gameplay that I would not be shocked. Yeah.
I remember
some people think the clowns are scary. Who knew?
Yeah. Wild.
So she greets Ichi as, quote, our beloved Messiah. And Ichi's like, wait, what? What's that? And also he says, why do all witches have to make a wacky entrance? And just face palms her away. just go personal space. She is introduced as Jiki Shirone, the Oracle Witch. And Ichi is put off by this for a second, but then he kind of squints his eyes and immediately goes, wait, are you human? And Jiki Shirone is impressed by this. And she grins and says, wow, you are sharp. And Deskara gets the deal on Jiki Shirone, saying that she used to be in a coma. She was in a coma for a decade, and then one day woke up with a completely different personality. And there are just apparently some magics out there who find humans that aren't able to move but are still alive, like those that are in a coma, and possess them. And so this is Jiki Shirone in body only. The one who is talking to them is the magic that has possessed her, the prophecy magic. The future rules!
They're back, Nick. You can't get rid of them.
An entirely different series, crossing boundaries. The future devil cannot be escaped. I do want to say go ahead.
I was going to say, the Future Devil does kind of show up in a weird way in different series. In Tokyo Ghost Paradox Rider or whatever it was called, it was it was the robot. Like it's like every so often there's just a little dude that knows the future and everything in it. And it's just cooler when it's the Future Devil. So this is a strong
Imagine how much how much better Paradox Ghost Rider would have been if that little robot, instead of like, I don't know, crying emotionally or something, if it had just occasionally raised its arms and gone, "The future rules."
It still has the panel of it crying, but it's also screaming "the future rules" while it does it.
A little note about the design of Jikishirane I really like, because the ghost that we see, it's got like a bit of a Harlequin design where one eye is a cross and the other is a teardrop, and those symbols appear on Jikishirane's cheeks below her eyes, but then in her pupils they go to the opposite eyes. So if you look closely, you can see the cross in the opposite eye as the ghost.
She is...
And same stuff for the teardrop.
A very designed character. This is like, if this was your OC in a forum, it would be 2 pages worth of explanation to describe this little guy.
Yeah, this is one of those things that's like, will be popular to cosplay. I don't know if the artist is going to want to draw it very much, though, because there's so much to go over in terms of all the little details, the ruffle and the or the ruff, I think it's just called, and all of the card symbols on her jester cap and stuff. So that's Jikishirane's deal, and she says, "Well, don't worry, I'm not a human hater, Magic. I like cooperating with humans." And Deskra says, "Yeah, you say that, but Monagal was really pissed off at you because you gave a prophecy minutes before it came true, so that's not very useful to us." And then Jikishirane defends herself and says, "Look, I'll share my prophecies with you, but at times of my choosing, and in exchange, I'm nice and cooperative. That was our deal." That sounds about right. Yeah. It is the future devil. Okay?
It basically is. It's like, look, I'll tell you what's going on. I'm just going to do it at a time when it's really funny for me.
And she kind of taunts Deskres a little bit. She says, "Look, I'm being really generous here. You should be more grateful to me." Deskres is a little bit, annoyed. But then Jikishirane says, "All right, anyway, on to business. For some reason, summons a circus ball under herself.
Hey,
I don't know why."
Nick, I got a question real quick here. People in the chat were pointing out, and I only noticed it. Do you notice that Ichi seems to be wearing a collar with a snowflake on it?
Oh, dear. Oh, dear. Oh, dear. Oh, dear.
So, thank you to the people in our chat who pointed that out, because that is a fun detail to catch now.
Oh, dear.
She is not lighting him off on that bed, it turns out.
Or she just, never mind. Nope, not going to say it. Not going to say it. So Jikishirane, for whatever reason, summons a circus ball underneath herself in order to not be at eye level with Shiki. I don't know. And so she says, "We got to talk about your and the world haters' fate. All my prophecies are completely and totally accurate, and one day I received the worst one imaginable. It will be known as the World Hater Magic. No witch will ever acquire it. And on a certain day in the future, it will destroy the world. All living things will be warped, twisted into unliving abomination, and when none remain, the world will reach its end." At which point, according to the prophecy, the World Hair Magic's like, "All right, nap time," and just kind of curls up and goes to sleep. But there is a ray of hope that could prevent the future from happening, which is with the one who acquires the Uroro magic. That light will challenge the World Hater, and should the light win, the world will be saved. And of course, Ichi has acquired Uroro, so he is the light that humanity has been waiting for. She refers to him as the Messiah that will save the world. Yes, phone. That's right. She says, "You're going to acquire the World Hater magic and save the world with your death." Which Ichi does his typical Ichi reaction to everything that isn't a Hund, which is just kind of like blankly staring without really reacting. Descaris looks annoyed and pissed off by this. And it's nice to continue to see like different sides to her, despite her usual, arrogance come through.
Yes, I am appreciating that we're getting something. I don't know. It feels like we really got one side of Descaros for a while, and now the World Hater Magic showed up and they were like, okay, now this character has to be like a very important one who tells you, like, you got your yucks in for a while, but now Descaros has to be like a very important character to the lore of this world and the significance of all these conversations.
I'm sure that she'll still be Descaros in all the
Yes.
lighthearted parts of the series, but during serious points, it's nice to know she can also be a serious character.
Yes. Absolutely. I
So,
think. Oh, sorry.
no, go ahead.
As I say, I think this is like a fun element to add into this as well. I wasn't sure exactly how I was gonna feel when last chapter Uro was like, they're gonna sacrifice you, but talk to Descaros. So it was one of those things where I was like, is this supposed to be like an ominous threat, like a conspiracy kind of thing? Like you got to protect yourself, and no, everybody's just open. They're like, nah, you're gonna die hunting this thing.
Yeah, it's nice that they actually are just upfront about it. It does kind of go to subvert the typical, oh, but we have plans for the boy that he doesn't know about.
Yeah.
That a lot of these, like, bright new hero in an organization they've just joined kind of stories tend to go. So Jigishirone says, look, this is the entirety of the prophecy that I am aware of at this point, and the last part of it only just came to me. And she says, like, oh, you're not going to deny it, are you? Hey, come on. It's just your life versus, the entire world. So go on, bravely march to your death and save the world by giving your life. And Descaros is, of course, there the whole time listening to this. And she starts to speak up, and literally right as she's saying, hey, Ichi goes, okay.
Sure thing.
He says, look, all that stuff about prophecies and messiahs and all that stuff. Look, if my choices are die or die while taking out my prey, my choice is clear. I'm going to take down my prey with me. And, I'll figure out all the details later. And, yeah, he says that. Jigishirone is really impressed and says, like, that's our messiah. And he's like, yeah, don't call me that. And they just start having like a weird little back and forth where she's trying to come up with a name for him, ending on Ichi Peachy, which is a great one. And he's like, no, not that one. And Descaros is clenching her fist from the sidelines, clearly, annoyed by this and pissed off about it.
What do you think that's about?
Chapter.
Yeah, what do you think that's particularly about?
I feel like we haven't really gotten into what drives Descaros as a person yet, but there's a lot of different ways you could go into the approach of, hey, this person is being used as a sacrificial lamb and is just going for it. I mean, this is someone who seems to have the approach of, hey, there's all these rules that say that I can't do something, but I'm the coolest and most awesome witch in the world, so fuck all that noise, I'm going to do it anyway. She challenged Uroro, who has a thing that makes it so that no witch can acquire him, and she was still trying to do it. She went up against the World Hater Magic and tried to defeat it, even though supposedly that's impossible. So it could be a matter of like, hey, something has been told that like it has to go this way, and it's like, well, no, it's not the way that I want something to be done, so fuck that. I'm going to oppose it. And she might be just upset that Ichi's just going along with it. It could be that she is just generally grown fond of him, or it could be something else beyond that.
Yeah, might be. I'm very intrigued though. It is funny that we opened Ichi the Witch, the new action-packed series of Shonen Jump, in a chapter that's just kind of exposition and stuff like that. But we all get it. We were there for the World Hater arc. It was awesome. We all agreed. So, good chapter here at the forefront. Makes me intrigued for what's going to come next.
Yeah, absolutely.
Blue Box.
All right. Chapter 181. Oh, wait, am I on the right one?
182.
182. I had not clicked forward on that one. My bad. 182. So much fun, I could cry. It's the fourth quarter of the AMA Saisho basketball game. Chinatsu is leading her team with a 4-point lead, two baskets, and whichever team loses, that's it for them. It could be the end of Yumika's high school basketball career or Chinatsu's. And right at the beginning of the chapter, Chinatsu manages to get past Yumika and sink a bucket, putting AMA up by 6. Yumika immediately answers, so it goes back to 4. And so it's just remaining tight between them. We cut over to Taiki with Chinatsu's dad in the audience, who flashes back to when Chinatsu was younger and was like, "Hey, Dad, why don't you like cheer loudly for me when you're at my games?"
What a
like,
brutal thing as a parent to have to hear too, by the way. Like, hey, Dad, I can pinpoint you're not trying very hard cheering for me when the cheering sections start. Like, oh.
And she's like doing one of those like you can't argue with this child poses too, because she's like, in fetal position with a pillow hugged to her. It's like don't refuse this child's request. Come on, man.
Yeah, their little knees are up at their face. Well, you can't. That's the cutest position they could be in. It's so sad.
You could pick her up and throw her 20 feet. Like, come on.
Which is further than your voice is projecting during these games, old man. Get it together.
That's the rule. Like, if you can toss your child further than you can
cheer for them. That is a ratio you have to hit as a parent. You have to be able to cheer for your child further away than you can physically throw them.
It's like an inversion of like I can toss them I can trust them as far as I can throw them or something
exactly.
like that. I can cheer them as far as I can throw them.
It's like a heartwarming thing. You're like, I can cheer from you further away than I could ever throw you. It's
that feels like it's not asking for a lot.
It kind of sounds like a
really good throwing arm.
It kind of sounds a little bit like a threat as well. Like, I may throw you to test this theory, but like you get the love, You gotta workshop the first draft, Nick, is what I'm saying.
Chinatsu's dad is cheering loudly. It's saying, "Hey, you can do it, you can do it." And Chinatsu sings another basket. In the flashback, she had said, "Hey, it gives me a burst of energy when I can hear cheers." So, man, she was onto something, that little kid.
Yeah.
Yumika tries to lead her team back, and it's clear that, her stamina is suffering, just like a coach said it would. She is having to tell herself, like, come on, move your legs, move your arms. And she thinks back to, the time that she had quit basketball, and she's like, look, I've got less than 8 minutes here, and I'm just done regretting.
Yeah.
Now I've got to use that regret as fuel. She manages to fake out Nagisa by going for a basket and then passing it behind her to a teammate who scores a bucket. And Yumika, congratulates her teammate who kind of gives her a slap on the shoulder and says, like, it always catches me off guard when I get a pass from you. I'm glad we did all that practice. And for a second, when I first read this, I thought they were saying like she was like a ball hog or something. And I realized like, oh no, she's saying it's really good to have her back on the team. Or not back on the team, but to have her as a teammate when she's not used to it at this point.
Mm-hmm.
But this clearly touches Yumika as they go back to basketball.
I think there's still a level of respect for her skill. Like, it is still like, oh, it is surprising to get a pass from you because you are usually just the one who scores. Like, you are that much better as well.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess as well, it's not just like a little bit of time that she's missed. This is like the first year she's been playing basketball in all of high school for her. So that's got to be crazy. Chinatsu continues to lead her team. Yumika continues to lead her team. And as they're going back and forth, Yumika thinks to herself, come on, just one more. Let me do more. Time, stop passing. I want to win. I want to win. And the time on the clock is ticking down. And as it does, Yumika and Chinatsu, think about their time together. And Chinatsu is really intense, and Yumika thinks, but more than I wanting to win, I'm just having so much fun that I could cry. And we get another flashback, casual time when Chinatsu and Yumika were kids. Well, not kids, I guess, probably middle school.
They seem middle schoolish, yeah.
So when they were still teammates. And it's just the two of them in the gym. It's a hot day. In the gymnasium, and Yumika says, hey, we got practice soon. I wonder when Blue will be coming. And I like how it's like no one knows her name. We haven't given her name, so here's her face.
Well, that's the thing. I'm like, is this supposed to be a new character we might have to like keep relevant of or something like that, or is this just
I don't know about that. I feel like it's just like it's a character you've seen in the background. We haven't named her.
That would be so, like, I really sat there. I was like, oh man, there's a lot of mystique to this moment. Like, who's this third character to this relationship? That seems, but it is much funnier if it's just like, I didn't name her. someone else.
I want you to know who. I want you to know who I'm talking about. So there's their face.
Yeah.
So good luck to the fan wiki coming up with a way to put that in the URL. Just a little face. So Chinatsu says that, like, hey, her mom said that you're like a prodigy, and Yumika is like, yeah, whatever. And Chinatsu says, yeah, I feel the same way after Jordan and Curry and Yoshida and a couple others. I respect you the most. But she says the best of all, Yumika loves basketball because you come with me to practice, and it's only because you come. And Yumika's like, that's just because you pick me up from my house. And she says, and it tears you up when we lose. And she's like, I just get pissy when we lose. That's all. And Chinatsu says, I also want to fall in love with basketball even more. I'm sure I'll find myself loving it endlessly. We'll live our lives loving basketball forever. And we don't get to see what the score is when we cut back. But there's 6 seconds left. Mm-hmm. And Chinatsu is past the ball. And as the timer counts down past 4, 3, she shoots past Yumika's guard in a 2-page spread. So once again, Chinatsu has gotten a last second shot off at the end of a game. And that's where we end the chapter.
Fuck
Tense.
you. Come on. Just finish it. I'm so annoyed that I got to the end. I was like, God damn it, I have to wait till next week to find out how this game ends. This chapter ruled, but I want to know how it ends, damn it. I did get a message from Ninja that Lumramayasha remembered there is a third member of their middle school team called Yuna, who's been shown once or twice. So maybe that'll be a character who is relevant again, or maybe it is just we established there was a third person on our basketball team and that's it. Who knows?
Wow.
There we go. Good chapter though. I do love. I mean, we're getting a lot of Chinatsu's inner thoughts about her life, but you are you know what? All the effort her parents are putting in, and Taiki's parents, this is a memory. This is absolutely going to be something that I feel is going to define the way you live your life going forward, Chinatsu. So, I'm glad she's having this experience.
Yeah. Given the way that this chapter went, it really does feel like, oh, hey, all those things where, you were prepping for this to be Chinatsu's last game. It really feels like Yumika's last game now.
Yeah.
Obviously, we don't know for certain. It feels like that's the way that this is going, though. And to have the build up to Chinatsu gets the last second shut off one more time, if this is the one that she finally sinks when it's.
Would it be wild if she makes the shot and it's not even the winning shot? It just happens.
They were just already up.
They were just already up, and she makes the final shot to end the match off or something like that. Oh.
Could possibly be the case. We never saw Saisho take the lead back at any point before we cut into that flashback. So that could be the case.
And it would be the thing that the point they're trying to make is just the thing about Chinatsu is that she may not be necessarily the greatest, most talented player of her generation, but she puts in the work that everyone else did. So, Yumika, despite being the more talented one, didn't have the stamina to really be at 100% during the fourth quarter. So it would say something.
She couldn't surpass the difference. Yeah. Well, we'll find out next week, Quinn. That was a great chapter. Let's do Chainsaw Man. Last time it looked like Yoru was going to just use her bang hand to just shoot Yoshida in the face. Turns out, she decided it was not worth the effort of walking 20 feet to the door and just blew a hole in the wall instead. Right next to their booth. Turns to Denji and says, hey, I'll play with you. Come with me. And grabs him by the shirt, pulls him out through the hole and says, "I'll teach you how devils play." And as she yanks him through the hole, she also pulls his ripcord, which forces him to transform into Chainsaw Man. And Chainsaw Man lands on his fucking ass when they get outside. So he's like, "Ow!"
Why did you say it's so British?
I don't know.
All right, very much. I appreciate. There was a moment I was like, "Does Denji go like oi?" in response
He
to
fell on his
something?
fucking ass.
He fell on his fucking ass. He did. I like that these two, the structure of this chapter, in a way, is very much like Richard Linklater's Before Sunrise series, where it's kind of just like two characters talking around town, except the town's like full of murderers and like death, essentially. Right. So this is a very romantic chapter for some reason.
A couple of people who were, hunting Chainsaw Man freaks spot Denji and are like, "Hey, a fake Chainsaw Man, let's go get him." One of them goes after him with a bat, and Yoru very casually and happily points to him and goes, blam, blows his torso apart, dead. And Denji is upset about this. You can tell he goes, "Ah, hey,
hey, don't do that."
Very upset. And he says, like, "You killed somebody, what the hell?" And Yoru says, "Well, says the guy who was eating people." They were trees, come on.
They never truly died then either, did they? Or maybe they did, I don't know.
They did scream.
Well.
So someone starts calling attention to them, and so Yoru starts to point at him. So Denji says, like, "Hey, wait, food, let's go out to eat. I know a great place, how about it?" You guys were just at a cafe. You guys are such dorks. But Yoru, who I guess remembers that, like, yeah, she didn't eat anything before they ran out of the diner, is like, "Yeah, okay." And so Denji picks her up and just starts running with her through the street while being pursued by a mob. And so Yoru points her finger behind him and just starts going bang, bang, and blowing people up as they pursue.
So is it just a lie when she's like, "I can't kill you guys because any more deaths would like irrevocably fuck up Asa's mind"?
Yes, Quinn. Yes, it was a lie.
Why is this character lying, Nick? They shouldn't do that. You're supposed to be honest with people.
It's almost like she's A, devil, and B, doesn't know how to handle horny emotions.
Hey, girl, I feel you.
They eventually get away to the restaurant that Denji was thinking about, Man Chinese restaurant. And I think that this is the restaurant that he and the Devil Hunters went to, like, way back early in the series. I forget.
Sure.
They were specifically in. But, of course, the place is, a wreck like most of the places in town. There's tables turned over and stuff, and so he's like, "Oh, a mess. The pot stickers here were delicious." And Yoru just goes over into the kitchen, pulls open a cupboard, and says, like, "Oh, guys, I found pot stickers in the freezer. I'll make them myself." They're frozen pot stickers, Yoru. You're not... Never mind. A proprietor of the establishment confronts her with a machete and is like, I'll call the police." A hatchet.
Okay,
whatever.
I was going to say machete.
An axe, whatever.
No, a hatchet would be right. Yeah, something.
He says, "I'm going to call the police on you." And then she's like, "Well, hold on, Yoru. That guy works here. He's the manager and he runs the restaurant. So, hey, we're customers, so you should make pot stickers for us." And the guy looks at him and is like, "Customers?" And bang, kills him. Denji calls her an idiot, and Yoru says, more seriously than she is, I think, throughout the entire rest of this chapter, "I said I'll cook for you. Don't interfere." It's very important to her. For some reason.
She wants to make these pot stickers. She clearly doesn't really know how, because when we turn the page, they don't look that great.
They don't look like pot stickers very much. No.
But she tried, and that's the important thing.
So she makes the pot stickers and a few other things as well. They look kind of like really big bao buns.
Yeah, I was gonna say it look like pork buns of some kind.
So the two of them go up on the roof and chill out and just kind of watch the city burn. Basically, there's smoke and fire everywhere as they're watching from They're spotting the roof. And Denji says, "Hey, where's the fire devil?" And Yoru says, well, you'll meet him when the death devil descends, probably. Because when the death devil makes an appearance, all the high-ranking devils greet her. And Denji thinks for a second. He says, will the control devil be there? He's lost her twice. And Yoru just says, I mean, maybe. But if she is, she won't be the one you know anymore.
Aww.
Cool. He gets depressed, and then he says, I've got this promise with a friend. I'm looking for the blood devil. She's a huge jerk, but when we were together, I had a lot of fun. And then he gets sad again. And then he says, even if I find her, I guess we're already strangers. And Yoru actually, seems affected by this. She, actually looks at him properly. And Denji says, you're the only friend. The only friends that I have left. And Yoru's like, oh, even though I'm planning on turning you into a weapon. And Denji says, that doesn't matter. For the first time in a while, I'm kind of having fun right now. And Yoru gets very perplexed by this. And then she decides, I know what I want to do. And sits in Denji's lap in a way that I think is very difficult to do, actually, because she doesn't sit in his lap. She sits in front of his lap. There is very little chair for her to put her butt on where she is sitting. You can see the edge of the chair. She must be putting so much weight on her ankles in order to do that. But she wants to be right there. She knows where she wants to be.
Nick, sometimes you just gotta... This is how you build quad muscles, okay? This is why leg day is important, because sometimes you want to do stuff like this, okay? And you need to have that bottom, lower body strength to be able to hold that position, okay? This is all important stuff. People should be taking notes.
That's basically the end of the chapter.
Yeah.
Look, Yoru may not know what she wants, but she knows what she wants. So...
Well, yeah. We'll see how her emotional maturity leads to a bad situation soon, I'm sure. But, yeah, I like this chapter. It's sad. It makes you feel for Denji, who probably could have some kind of connection to the new Blood Devil if he met them, but he just doesn't. And it's just sad. Same thing with, I don't know. I'm still on the I think Nayuta's still alive train, but I'm just denying. I'm just trying to lie to myself, essentially, to feel good.
You're in Denayuta.
Yeah. That one.
Anyway, moving on.
All right, Nick, we have Kaiju number 8, chapter 121.
121, yeah. And Kafka, that's his name, has just achieved his second form. He had his super power-up thing happen and shed off, his previous body, which gives him this seemingly all-white form. And everyone says, oh my god, the waveforms are neither kaiju nor human. It's a totally unknown form. We're unable to measure fortitude, which means that his fortitude is over 10. He is immeasurably powerful with their current technology. So, one of the bald guy who's always talking about how Kikuru's mom is dead says, well, we are in a domain now where there are multiple kaiju emerging with this level of power, though. If number 8 were our enemy, humanity would truly be... Oh, what an awful prospect. An awful prospect. And then Kappa goes, I'm sorry. And he picks up a pair of drones that are on the ground. And he goes, the shockwaves from my transformation broke 2 drones. And he looks very sad.
He's like,
and he lasted all of about 5 pages of screen time in this new form before he made a chibi expression. So, yep, that's still Kafka.
Can't take the guy out of the kaiju.
Kafka says, I racked up this debt. I'll be sure to work it off. What a weird man.
It's just very funny because, I guess that's the line a cool old guy says, where he's just don't worry, I'll pay off this debt that I've put upon myself. Like, okay. Got his priorities, I guess.
They reiterate that, yes, this is specifically a new form. It's not even close to his berserk form that we've seen before. And Kafka, in his head, is like, I can actually see it. I can see the emotions that are still coming out of this form: resentment, hatred, regret, and rage. For number 8, they serve as an energy source, an inexhaustible pitch black fuel. And the souls start to surge around his body. It's a lot like that bit in Dragon Ball Z where Cell shows off all the people he's absorbed. It's kind of like that.
A little bit, yeah.
The ancient kaiju recognizes in him the army that it decimated and starts laughing like a dick. Just go.
I love because it also comes with the sound effect of keck. So I really feel that it's like an internet keyboard kind of level to this guy too, like keck.
Yeah. So it laughs and then unleashes more of its power, like all the kaiju forces inside its body swarm. It dashes in towards kaiju and punches him in the face and just messes everything up. Like the street underneath them, all the buildings around them, just all start to crumble and are decimated. Shockwaves that both Mina and Hoshina have to kind of shield themselves against. And Kafka tanks it all, points at the kaiju and says, "Hey, we're gonna get everyone else wrapped up in this if we stay here. So let's go to that transmission tower over there." And the kaiju looks at him, like, "Huh?" And Kafka punches him in the face, really, 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 really hard, and sends him flying. And he says, "Okay, I suppose I should get going then." And he rolls his shoulder and cracks his neck. So Kafka am strong now. That is the chapter.
It's fine. I actually kind of like this chapter because I always think it is cool when the hero gets like a cool new distinct form and then they get to just show off whooping ass with it. It's just the satisfying thing you want. There's a part of my brain at this point that's just conditioned to love the kind of shit you could put to an AMV, you know? Like when you would do the Kaiju number 8 AMV, this scene's going to get a lot of play during it when it gets animated, that kind of thing. So I enjoy it,
this
even
came out
though
20 years ago you'd set it to all the Linkin Park songs. And,
some 41, you know, just really, I hate my mom kind of music. Anyways, I enjoyed it, even though this fight is interminably long. And I still don't.
It's still going.
I still don't know. I'm like, is the manga ending? Is this it? Like, or this is the strongest? Or after this fight, are we gonna be like, all right, guys? So now we know the kaiju can go over 10. So like, you guys have to go past 100 or whatever. I don't know. Still enjoying the big power up transformation though. Yeah. There's a very sweet Spy Family chapter that just exists to break your heart and then be like, all right, and then a regular chapter will come out sometime soon, guys.
It is, technically speaking, a full chapter of Spy Family. It's not like one of the bonus missions or anything like that. It is mission 111.
Yeah.
It is 5 pages long. And it's a dream sequence that Anya has. She imagines herself as an even littler girl, holding hands with who is very clearly supposed to be, and probably is, her mother, has like even Anya's same hair buns and hair color. And
they are both also notably wearing hospital gowns, it appears.
Yeah, Anya's looks like it's a bit frilly, so it's kind of stylized, but they do tie in the back like hospital gowns, yes. So Anya imagines herself and her mother, you know, holding hands, walking through a field, and she spots a butterfly. And her mother says, "Yeah, I know. Yes, it is. Wouldn't it be nice if we could soar through the sky like that?" And Anya looks up at her and gives her a big hug and goes, "Mama," and squeezes.
You can't. This is fucking evil.
And turns out that she was dreaming, and she's hugging Bond in her sleep really tightly around the neck. And he's going, Worf! Worf!
What I love is Spy Family's ability to touch my soul so completely with this child, and in the next panel she's being woken up, she's like, "Argh!" Like she's got like one eye like is shooting up into the ceiling, she's just drooling, just like not even remotely like the ugliest sound they could have a child make. And you're just like, yeah, dog, that's the dichotomy this series operates under, and I love it.
And Loy kind of says, like, hey, you know, you're going to throw off your sleeping rhythm if you sleep right now. You got to go back to school tomorrow. He says he's going to go shopping, so he asks if there's anything they want for dinner. And Anya says, well, I want that. What is that? She doesn't, know what to say. And Yor says, oh, potato gratin. And Anya's like, yeah, that. Can you read my mind, Mama? And Yor says, I can read every part of you, Anya, which is fucking cute as shit. Anya starts doing the gratin dance with Bond. It's choreographed and everything. And Yor kind of walks over to Loy and she whispers like, oh, before she was napping, she saw it on TV and she said, I want that. So
it's adorable. And she's, she has a dream about her own mom, and she clearly misses her, but she has a great loving mom right now. And
Yor's a great mom.
Yeah.
Like it's Lloyd still needs to figure out a couple things, as in understanding that he is in a family, but Yor's just like a really good mom to Anya.
Yeah, it's very, very sweet. Very, very cute moment. And I guess we'll have a little bit of a break before the next chapter. I don't know.
I'm not sure.
Let me see. View chapter list.
Yeah, according to this, it'll be another 2 weeks before we get another one.
So little time, but good chapter.
Yeah. All right. From there, it's Astro Royale.
Gosh. Ugh. No, Nick. His sword could be, or his shield could be a sword now. It's super cool. We gotta be so pumped to talk about this.
Man, maybe that should have been a big deal.
What do you mean? What's not so big about having a throwaway panel?
Look what I can do now. Yeah, I can do it. So what?
Don't worry, guys. I don't need an interesting way to use my shield to fight. It can turn into a sword always.
Next time I fight, I think I'll turn it into a fist so I can punch things. That'll be unique.
Fuck. I'll be so mad. I was always like, because that's the thing. We got the dude who's just the straightforward punchy guy. But when we want a good old thinky fucking Shikamaru style shonen fight out of a character in the series, it's gonna be from Tarasu. And my boy just immediately was like, sword mode! And I was like, fuck, we don't get shit from this series, do we?
Sword form, yeah! Hey guys, look, I found out a way to make my pendant into a lighter. Isn't that unique? So, yeah, it's time for Tarasu to fight in the Astro Battle Royale finals now. And his opponent is Naito Saotome, who is popular with ladies. He is, quote, the Saotome group's long-running #1 host, as in a host club, Naito Saotome. And he says, who's the star of the show today? And they're all, Prince Saotome! Ah! And there's girls with hearts in their eyes and stuff cheering. So Master Masculine takes the field and throws off his cloak. And he refers to Tarasu as a sidekick and says, no matter what Astro you got, you can't defeat a star who's got the whole crowd on his side. These princesses cheering for me on my strength. And he JoJo poses, I guess, and floats up into the air a little bit. And everyone's like, oh my god, our cheers make him float. Yay, yay. And then Tarasu's like, all right, let's fight. Yato no Kagami turned into a sword instead of a shield.
It's so nonchalant. And it's like, they sit there and they're like, yeah, because I learned in my last battle that I can't win if I'm always on the defense. I'm like, why didn't you learn that in the battle? Like, Why didn't we get a cool action moment of the sword being revealed instead of just casually against this dude I literally just met 2 panels ago?
I spent a long time thinking about how to fight with a shield. I studied all the greats like Steve Rogers, and what I learned from them was don't fight with a shield. Fight with a sword instead. Shields suck.
How dare you? All of the best characters use shields. Captain America,
Link.
Link uses a shield. What was the name of the one Momoto from Zatch Bell? Tia? Tia used nothing but shields and healing magic, so that's a pretty cool character. Who else uses shields? Teo, I think, from Magic the Gathering. Everyone loves Teo. He's like the 50th most popular planeswalker. Nick, I'm not floundering here because I can't find good examples of characters who use shields to fight. I thought it was a deep well. Turns out it was Captain America.
Use your shield. So, he slashes with the sword and then goes, did my hit not land? And no, so Tome goes, I'm in invincible star mode. Wow, what a superstar. Man, Master Masculine is so cool.
I'm very distracted for a little bit because Ian Graygrams brings up a great point, which is like, how did he learn that in a fight where he did nothing but defend and won? He didn't have to learn that lesson. She got defeated because you just blocked the entire time.
I can't say anything or else I'm going, the reservoir will erupt out of me, the reservoir of hatred. So I'm just going to keep going.
Yeah, there's a cork inside of you. You can't take it out or else it'll purge your whole body.
But it's the tea is on the stove right now when it's vibrating. So Satome is like, I'm in invincible star mode. As long as they cheer, no attacks will work against me. And all the girls cheer. And he says, what will you all give me, girls? And they're like, ah! I guess. And stuff is just happening. Like, so there's someone who is like coordinating the cheers. Someone on a microphone. Fair enough. This is a Yakuza organization, so they're coordinating the people for the star power.
Yes.
And he's gradually just beating Tarasu up, and Tarasu's like, if only I had something to defend myself with. And then they just have a champagne tower. All right.
Yeah.
The champagne tower. I'm sure that'll make people want to whatever. So Himaru goes, he can't protect himself in sword mode. Talk about a double-edged sword. Just turn it into a shield again.
No, Nick, it can't possibly work like that. We don't know how it works because we just learned about it, but he couldn't possibly switch between forms. It'd be crazy.
This is, oh my god. Naito says to Tarasu, who is beaten up and on the ground, back in the old world, no matter how much attention we hosts got, you Yakuza always treat us like punks while you called the shots. Ah, the great host Yakuza rivalries. What is going on? He also complains that the head honcho of the underworld was always a Yakuza, as opposed to a host? What are you talking about? And now he says that Astros have shaken up the landscape, and he says, I was weak once, but as long as I have this power, I can be the strongest. I'm going to be the king of the world for my princesses.
Yeah, what's so sad is that I feel like Wakui like really thought he kind of cooked with this character. Like, I think he really was like, yeah, this fucking rules. And it's like, nah, dog, we did see this exact same thing in Master Masculine, and that was a better version of this, by the way. And that still kind of sucked.
I mean, I will kind of fight you on that because he was definitely one of the at least top 10 Vandenreich.
Sure, but I don't remember.
But they were a lame group. But
yeah, I was gonna say I don't recall there really being like a high note in a lot of those guys. Like it's kind of like Oscar knocked LeVar just for being the one dude to kind of take the own piss out of himself, and then then I guess maybe Superstars in there.
So Naito poses again. The wussy guy who's with Hibaru says, "The cheers make his Astro stronger. Isn't that a little too OP? You've said this about every single Astro you've seen. You need to go away. You contribute nothing to this fucking series. Go away." And Hibaru just goes, "Don't worry, Tarasu's not going to lose. You need to go away. You contribute nothing to this series, Hibaru. You need to go away."
You need to get out of here.
Tarasu says, "Huh, princesses, give me a break. Let me warn you, if you're going to fight for someone, fight for just one person. Fight for the one person who's right here in your heart." Where is this coming from? So he says
saw it, Nick. Like, what you don't see, Nick, you have to imagine this like an elaborate D&D campaign. And Tarasu just fucking crit on his insight check. Like, at no point did he really seem like he was paying attention to things, you know?
No.
Like you would maybe do if you had a shield and you were just trying to be patient and find an opening. Maybe that would make more sense for why this happened. But he didn't. He's in sword mode right now.
Okay. Let's go.
Let it out, Nick. Well, who's like keeping this in?
I'm gonna do it now. Okay. So he says that, and Naito, in response to this, apparently immediately knows the one person who should be in his heart. Looks into the audience where there is a girl who, you know, is kind of plain looking. She's dressed. She's dressed conservatively. She's not, you know, taking part in the, you know, big dance group thing that all of the princesses, quote unquote, are doing. She's just sitting there, you know, kind of reservedly, and she says, "Naito," and Naito goes, "Huh?" And Tarasu goes, "Here's my chance," and darts past him, and everyone goes, "Yeah, huh?" And Tarasu says, "You know, every time you make a sharp movement, you grab your head," and he was wearing a toupee the whole time. He's got the Hulk Hogan cut where he's got long hair on the fringes, but he's totally embarrassingly bald up top.
Yeah, like for some reason he even has a couple hairs of just like where his bangs would be that he's like.
Yeah, where do those come from? Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something about losing your hair, guys. Those are usually not the last to go.
I was gonna say, wouldn't you at some point just start shaving those ones off? You're like, well, this is ridiculous. Like,
so he has stolen the wig, and he needed his sword to do that because. So Naito's really upset, and he's like, "Oh, I give it back. I lost my hair from the stress." What stress? What are you talking about? What are you talking about? What is all this?
Like the stress of the thing he complained about earlier about he could be the strongest now, I guess. He's been stressing about that a lot.
Okay. So immediately all the girls in the audience go, "Ew, gross. I just got the ick. Let's get out of here." And they leave. Not even just like stop cheering for him. Get up, leave the stands, and abandon him immediately. And an incredibly coordinated and very expedited effort while they just, I guess, stand there waiting for them to clear out. And so Naito's support is gone.
Yeah.
And it's, I'm number one, right? You made a fool of me. I'm going to kill you. And Tarasu, kills the man with his sword. Ruthless. And he says, "It's because you bought into the crowd hyping you up. When you expose it all and come clean, that's who you really are. Find something you want to protect more than that wig."
This...
Judgy? All right.
Yeah, first and foremost, this is fucking real judgmental and shitty to just be like, "Hey, baldy, bald, you're a bald." Like, it's just like, why are you so mean about this guy not having, like, hair? Like, who gives a shit? Just let him fucking be. I don't know why we're, like, harping on this dude about that and, like, acting like he has, like, some deep-seated insecurity because of that. But also, this fight fucking sucks. Like, I don't understand why Tarasu has a sword. He didn't use a sword except to cut the guy at the end, but the dude was so, like, emotionally defeated, you could have just punched him. Like, what does it matter? Yeah.
So, Tarasu wins, goes through the next round. Hibaru congratulates him, slaps him 5. And then the girl, Hiroko, comes down from the stands and just says, "You did well, Naito. You put up a good fight." Gives him a kind smile, and he's emotional about it. And Tarasu says, if he had wished for powers that were for just one girl, I might have lost. Hibara goes to the bathroom because the chapter is piss. He takes a leak. Oh, peacock feather flames show up because Shikaba is here. Takes the stall right next to Hibaro in a power move, despite the fact that they're in with all empty stalls. And Hibaro says, "Don't sneak up on me while I'm taking a piss," while turning to Shikaba, which means I guess he was done pissing. So Shikaba says, "You're so pure. It makes me want to corrupt you." Hibaro's like, "Huh? I'll kick your ass."
I like to think Hibaro doesn't actually know what to do when he gets into a bathroom. He just kind of stares at the wall for a while, and then he's like, "All right, I guess I'm done now."
I guess he doesn't have a bladder.
I just think maybe he pisses himself while he punches things every so often. He's just like, that's just what happens sometimes. You train for so long, the water leaks down your leg.
The 3 engines in my arm are pee powered. Shikaba says,
"Hibaro, why do your punches smell so bad?" He's like, "That's my secret power. It's what I wished for when that comic came by. Oh, I wish I had superpower, super strength that was piss powered."
I was like, man, I hate going to the bathroom. It's such a pain. What if I could just punch my pee out?
And true, I'm like a 12-year-old boy, and I'm like, if I could just do what I always do and never take time to piss, this would work out perfectly.
Shikaba says, "Maybe I'll come clean to you too." And Hibaru's like, "What?" And Shikaba just stares right at him, looks at him with those creepy eyes, and says, "I'm the one who killed Dad." What? All right. So he's lying. Anyway, so
no, Nick, it's so cool.
About this chapter itself, Quinn.
Okay.
What is the thing that you would think would happen in a fight where you lose sight of the person in a crowd who means the most to you? You would have that person in the crowd.
Yes.
She's not.
Oh, you've looked through all the panels. You never see her. Wow, that's a crazy oversight if that's the case.
I certainly didn't see her. I didn't see anyone who didn't have heart eyes specifically, which is how she is like distinguished from all the other supporters that Naito has. And so if someone can in fact point her out in any of these panels, I'll take that criticism back. But it just feels like you're not putting the legwork in when you do something like that. Of course, he overlooked this because you, the writer, overlooked it.
Yes.
Like, come on. I hate everything about this fight in terms of how it treats women, how it treats men, how it treats fighting. It's all bad, and it sucked.
Yeah, I wish I had anything else to like really add to it, but it's a very succinct way of saying everything in this chapter was done very poorly and kind of gross in a way that's just like, damn. Like, weren't you supposed to be a big author? Like, I really thought people liked Tokyo Revengers. Isn't that supposed to be like a big series? I don't know anything about it, but like, dude, your Astro Royale some dog shit. Like, I don't know what you did before, but like, I would definitely, like, this is one of those things that's like, I have to go back and look at this. Maybe the first thing you did wasn't that good either, or something like that. All right, okay. We have a new series, Nick, to talk about. We have a new sports series, Nick.
Let's put our optimism hats on, shall we? Let's try and do that for a little bit. Maybe we'll grow to hate this just as much as we do Astro Royale. Who knows? But yeah, this is Embers by Kei Kurumazaki and Sotaro Nishi, who were, I can't recall which of them it was, but worked on Blue Lock the big soccer manga right now.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I believe it's the artist because in the article I read about it, it's like they did like dynamic backgrounds for it.
You can definitely see a similar, I don't want to say style, but like there you can see a bit of an influence, I feel like.
It's in the eyes, it feels like.
Yeah. There's an intensity that it captures that I feel like is very Blue Lock.
Embers chapter 1.
We can see in the 2-page spread that there is factually more than one woman in this universe. So this is already
immediately doubled.
Monument. And this one appears to be like I don't know. Neither of them have like commented on their like breasts or anything like that. So like it seems like they are already leagues ahead of the character in Blue Lock as well.
The vault, the high jump beam was on the floor, and they did jump over it. Yes.
Yeah. Now, I don't believe either of these two characters really say anything too much in this chapter. I think the one says a little bit, but like I don't think we really get to know either of them in this. This is sort of the main.
We just get a hint of them.
Yeah.
Chapter 1, Noboru Haitani, who, of course, is the main focus of this chapter. He is the protagonist. We are told that glories in soccer are monopolized by athletes, quote-unquote, built to be stars. Who can break the stranglehold of these elites? Is it a team of even greater elites? Or is it a band of outlaws? All right, it's a good hook.
Yeah.
It's a good hook. So Noboru, we are introduced to, or just Haitani, I think is probably how most people are going to refer to him, is a middle school delinquent. He is said to be the best brawler around and is just constantly getting into fights because people are like, oh, the strongest, going to fight that guy, as you do when, you're in that kind of thing. One of the teachers at his school, Oshimi, who has just transferred into the school, rushes out to deal with the fight. Haitani is very easily dealing with the guy, dodging all of his punches while, gradually beating the guy up, and eventually just like cold cocks him. And Oshimi comes out to Haitani and says like, I keep on reprimanding you over and over for this. What are you doing? Do you just enjoy fighting that much? And Haitani says, no, I'm just saying I don't got time for the patience to listen to wusses who are weaker than me. And he goes to just curb stomp the guy, just stomp right in his head. And Oshimi sticks his foot out and blocks it in midair, which is a very impressive thing to do. So Oshimi says, how about this? You can test me. You versus me. If I win, no more brawling in school.
It's very funny because it's hard to see this without immediately thinking of the scene with Doflamingo and Luffy. That's like this exact like I'm also going to stop your foot with my foot kind of move. And I almost wish there was like a reference to that specific moment. And you're like,
who are you, Luffy?
Yeah, one that was wearing like a straw hat or something for just a second.
Maybe he was in that panel, but it's just you can't see it because it's showing his foot and not his head.
He knocks it off then in the next panel. Got it.
Yeah, there's like a shadow of a straw hat if you look really closely.
I am starting to see. I'm going to post something about this on Reddit. I think we can make this go viral.
Absolutely. So they go for the confrontation after school, and there's a soccer ball there. And Haitani and his fellow delinquents are like, "What's going on?" And Haitani says, "I thought we were going to fight." And Oshimi says, "I said you versus me in a showdown. Didn't say it was going to be a fight." And Haitani says, "Well, I'm gonna leave then because this is dumb." And Oshimi says, "Oh, you running away?" Just immediately gets him. Oh, you're gonna look like a chicken in front of your friends. And so Haitani rises to it because he's 14 and full of testosterone, and so he's like, "All right, fine, let's do this shit." And Oshimi says, like, "Yeah, I'll bet you can't even get this ball away from me. Just try and take it." Haitani does charge in, but Oshimi screens him away from the ball and just shrugs him off. And Haitani's got superior physique to this guy, but he's knocked on his ass immediately. And Oshimi says, "Look, you're 1-on-1 against me. This is not just going to be a brawl." And Haitani starts to get riled up, takes his jacket off. He's like, I'm going to show you why I'm the best. 2 hours go by and he can't beat him at all. But Oshimi points out that the entire time they've been doing this, he's like had to retreat basically away from Haitani in order to keep possession of the ball. And so he says, you've got potential, but you don't have the energy. And Haitani collapses because they've been going at this for 2 hours. And obviously Haitani is used to winning his fights more quickly than that.
Yes.
So Oshimi challenges him like, hey, tell you what, you can try to challenge me again if you can do this little trick. And he bounces the ball in his foot. And he's like, this is juggling. And if you can do it 5 times in a row, you can challenge me again. Haitani's friends are like, let's just go to the arcade. Let's go. And Haitani's like, nope, gotta do this. Gotta kick this guy's ass. Gotta do it. So they're like, yeah, I mean, the guy just like can't stand to lose. So he's going to rise to this challenge. And I was so grateful, Quinn, the pace that is set in this chapter, because we don't like have this be the entire rest of this chapter. It's like, no, he does it. He challenges, he loses. He does it more. He challenges, he loses. And we just get like, he's juggling it more and more and losing in 1 page. We just get all that out of the way.
I was going to say, because like, if you were to read this chapter, you would assume this old man is going to be like a principal character in this manga, and then the like by the end of the chapter, he's left middle school, and you're like,
it seems he's gone now.
I don't think that guy's returning unless like to cameo later on, or maybe to like help out with coaching or something like that.
So he keeps on doing it. He's like teaches him how to trap by doing that as well, which is where you just balance the ball on your foot. And so, but Oshimi keeps on, winning, and he says like, hey, bring your friends next time. And at this point, like, some of them are like, he's been acting really weird lately. He's always out there playing soccer with some teacher. And gradually, Haitani's friends start to join him at these soccer practices. And they're the people on the sidelines being like, it's really weird that they're just off playing soccer and stuff, hanging out and smoking, are losing numbers while that's happening.
Yeah.
And one of them says, yeah, is kicking the ball around really that much fun? Haitani is frustrated because no matter what, he just like can't seem to beat Oshimi at these contests that they're having. But Oshimi points out to him, look, every time that we have our contests, at the end of them, we're always on the edge of the field. And there's this really cool shot we get of like the field covered in all their footprints from all the scuffling around that they've done over weeks and months. He says that Haitani doesn't let his opponent get past him. You're like a wall pushing forward. Okay, I like that.
Yeah.
So Haitani's like, well, yeah, I still can't beat you. And Oshimi's like, yeah, that's just because I'm stubborn. And he thinks to himself of Haitani, what he does with his future, that's going to be his decision. It's not my place to tell him what to do or to be anything. But I can see it so clearly. And as Haitani walks away from him, he envisions him as a soccer player in front of a stadium full of fans. So he asks that Haitani participate in an actual match in the prefectural prelims. But of course, Haitani needs a full 11 people to play in that. So he can just go to his, fellow delinquent friends in order to do that. And he has to ask them for it. And they're like, well, do you want to play in that? And he's like, I've never been in any real sports matches. And I don't really like getting sweaty and stuff. I don't even know if this soccer stuff is fun, but I think maybe I do. And so a couple of guys that are his friends are like, yeah, we'll do this. Well, we'll go get 11 guys together. Let's go do it. And they're like, well, let's go and take that tournament on. As they start walking down the hall, they come across the teacher's lounge and they overhear a conversation that Oshimi is having with one of the stricter students, which is like, hey, you just got that mark on you, that bruise you've got. Haitani gave that to you. And he's like, well, yeah, that's just part of sports. He's like, no. If Haitani is violent with the teacher, he needs to be suspended. That kid's not worth it. His presence is annoying the whole staff. If we could just get rid of him, the school would be better off. And Haitani starts to get pissed up before he can say anything. Oshimi speaks up and he says, children his age are ripening fruit. Whether they turn out rotten or not, it depends on how we choose to teach them. So don't concern yourself with me. I'm just go along with he's just going along with an old man's whim. He's a good kid. And he walks out of the teacher's lounge, and Haitai's just standing right there. And he's like, oh, good, let's go get some exercise. And Haitai's like, yes, sir. So he is a good kid, it turns out.
And he hears that an adult is sticking up for him. It's a very nice thing for that kind of kid to hear.
We had the whole first story arc of Rookies done right there. Basically.
Yeah, like legit.
So it's time for that tournament that they were talking about, and we see those female characters that were spotted in the 2-page color spread, who are here to observe things, and we don't even like get introduced to them. I don't think we even learn their names, but the more knowledgeable of the two girls, it seems, makes note of Takami from Alta Academy, Yuga Takami. And of course, that's the team that Haitai's team is going up against first. One of his friends has bought a baseball bat to the match, and Haitai's like, what are you doing? No, get rid of that. Drop it. Get rid of it. And he's like, well, I don't want those guys to think that they can walk all over us. Get rid of it. Just his instinct was like, I want him to show I mean business, that I will maul them if they try and mess with us. Takami, it turns out, is one of those characters, you know.
Yes.
You know, look, it's a sports manga, you know.
I don't want to say who this character reminds me of quite yet, but there's a very clear, like, one for one to like, I know who this is. Okay.
Yeah. Every sports manga needs this character, you know.
Yeah.
So he says, look, they're just small fry, I don't care what they're up to. And so, yeah, Haitai leads his team into battle. Immediately, Takama weaves past him. And so, you know, the people in the stands are like, wow, this guy is just at a completely different level. There's just no one in this match who can take on Takami. But Haitani is a wall that will not stop moving forward, and he does not let up. He just pursues Takami, tries to dig the ball out away from him and steal it, but he ends up causing a trip, which draws a foul. But even so, Takami's like, that guy just kept up with me, with my dribbling, which really gets to him.
Yeah. Because this is supposed to be a clown shoe match they're going to walk over.
Yeah, this guy's a complete rookie who's been playing soccer for like a month, and that's it. So, Takami's team, however, starts to take control, and so they're like, wow, you know, this has actually turned out better than I expected. They're still winning 7-0, though, towards the end of the game. So Takami has been defended by Haitani, but it's just that the others are also really good. And so Haitani, yes, has been keeping Takami in check, which is really starting to annoy him. And he tries to get past, calls for a pass, and Haitani traps it. The signature move that Oshimi taught him. Yeah. And oh no, wait, that's Takami who does that.
Yes.
It's really hard to tell because they're drawn the same in that one image. Like he's lit up and does it, but he does it so skillfully. He does it in midair, and so we are basically told, like, okay, he's got to get past this guy or he's got to pass it. If he can't, then he can't attack any further. And so he's trying to get past Saitani because he's like, I haven't scored all game, and that's really frustrating him. So he's trying to get past him. He's like, I can't get past him. And there's this full page spread where, from Takami's view, it's like Haitani is a monster, this giant looming over him. And Takami says, like, look, it's up. Like, we're almost out of time. Why are you bothering at this point? And Haitani says, game's not over. Clock's still ticking. And Takami's like, look, this is not tennis. This is not baseball. You're down 7 points. You've got 10 seconds left. There is no miracle comeback that's going to happen for you. And Haitani says, I know. Trust me, I know. And we cut to his teammates, his other delinquent friends, one of whom was complaining about how he didn't want to get sweaty, and now he's drenched in sweat from playing really hard. One who's like, I don't want to mess up my hairdo, and his hair is gone complete. All the product's gone because he's been playing so hard. And I says,
he lost his
it doesn't
pompadour.
Matter. His pompadour, his manly haircut is gone. And Itai says, it doesn't matter. I'm not going to lose to you until the very end. And Takami says, so you admit you're dumb. This is very, very straightforward. Tries to dodge past him, just darts right in, and it looks like he's done it for a second. But Haitani whirls around to try and pursue him, and Oshimi realizes that was a feint. And Takami pulls back. It's like he does the, oh god, what was it? The Devil Bat Zero, where he goes back and then goes right straight backwards. So Haitani turns to go after him. He just pulls right back immediately, and he says, only the ones who want to win belong on this field. And he full on Devil Bat Ghost Haitani gets past him this time. And he's like, I rarely ever use that. This is just a perfectional game that I shouldn't have to do with it, but he won't be able to keep up. And Haitani immediately reaches out for him and grabs him by the jersey, which would be a foul.
Yes.
But Haitani's like, okay, I got him off balance. And Takami's like, oh, you think you did? No, I'm not off balance at all. And he does a thing. While he is falling, he gets into position, and this is like the panel of this chapter where he's collapsing. His foot is big in the foreground, swinging for the ball. He hits a strike, and it gets past the keeper, and he scores a goal for the game. And time expires right as he does that. 8-0.
Yes. So
that's happened. Takami's still really pissed off, and his teammates are like, "Hey, you got a goal! Come on, you were just just warming up." And Haitani thinks to himself, like, "I've done nothing but lose since I started soccer." Which, yeah, it does suck. But Takami walks past him as he's leaving the field, and he says to Haitani, "My name's Yuga Takami. Don't forget it. The next time, I'm going to get way more than one goal past you." And Haitani looks at him and he thinks to himself, "You're such a weirdo. Why are you mad? You won. You shouldn't be mad. The one who gets to be mad, the only one with the right to be mad, is me, you bastard!" And he stands up, says, "Don't you forget about me either, because I'm going to beat you. I'm going to win and keep on winning." And he leaves the field, very emotional, holding back tears while Oshimi comforts him, pats him on the back. And Oshimi says, "If you got it in you to cry in frustration, you got it in you to grow.
Aww.
Why don't you join a soccer club for real? I'm sure someday you could be the strongest on the field."
It's such a nice old man. He's like leading this kid into a better life.
And as it so happens, Haitani gets accepted into a high school, affiliated with a university, no less. And he really wanted to go to that school because it was Oshimi's school, his alma mater.
Yeah.
And so Haitani goes there, and he's entering his first year of high school, and he immediately starts heading for the club signups. And we are reintroduced to Noboru Haitani, who has never lost a brawl and never won a soccer match yet. He's still got his blonde dyed hair, which makes him stand out. He still looks like a thug as a result of that and his big build. So people are like, what is that guy doing here? Is he from some other school? And people are flinching away from him. And the knowledgeable braided girl that we saw before recognizes Haitani as he approaches the sign-up table for the soccer club. And she's like, "What are you doing here?" And he says, "What do you mean?" "I'm here to play soccer." And the narration concludes, "As of today, this second, I'm taking my first step towards being the greatest."
It was interesting because I felt like it seemed very obvious we were about to get a Haikyuu situation. And I think we are. because we see that character on the cover of the manga.
They're wearing the same uniform. Yeah.
So it's one of those things where I'm like, I guess you can't do it because that was the end of the first chapter twist of Haikyuu. But it is the same general idea, so I am excited to see that. I think they actually do have a pretty good dynamic back and forth. So the idea that these are just going to be two people who are like going to push each other, like it's a good starting point for a sports manga. It's going to get people somewhat interested. I don't know how to feel about this series as a whole as of yet. Right now, I think it's kind of decent, but my heart's been broken by sports manga so many times now.
I understand.
Like I can't ever fully love it until I'm like, it's made it 40 chapters. Okay, all right, time to like.
Release the shackles from my heart. It's fine.
I can invest.
I fully understand you there. Yes, we've gotten burned on a lot of these. I think that there is enough of a distinct gimmick to this series in terms of characterization. And it's got a strong identity thus far. And I think it also understands, all right, let's not fuck around. Let's do all the important stuff in terms of setup and then just go into like the actual main premise from there.
Yes, exactly.
We'll see, though. I think that it's going to depend on many factors, but I don't know. I can tell you that I got hyped for another soccer series during this. And so that's nice at least.
Yes. Oh yeah. All right, we have some Hima-Ten neck to talk about. Hima-Ten number 28, Homemade Kana Part 2.
And Kana is following up on getting her hair did at Iemori's mom's salon, or the salon that his mom works at, I guess I should say. And is now going with Iemori and his younger siblings to the amusement park. So she introduced herself to them, Shuji and Mikoto, whom we do not learn really a damn thing about. They are little sibling coded in this chapter, and that's about it. I don't think that there is a single thing that I could point to that makes either of them distinct from the other. But Kana is really nice to them. She's like, I know that I'm like basically a stranger to you, and I'm kind of like crashing on your family time, but I hope that you'll let me join in for today. But the two of them clearly like tell that there's like chemistry going on between Kana and Iemori as they're observing it. And Kana's also like, oh, when we're hanging out at school, I'm always like the youngest one because I'm a year behind all you guys. I'm finally the older one.
It's very cute when you have those moments. Like I remember I was always the baby in my family and in a lot of groups, so it was a thing when I started to make friend groups, and I'm like, I'm the oldest one here, stuff like that. Which is anytime you can feel like you are not being treated like the youngest one anymore.
Mm-hmm. So the two of them chat about a few things, and again, like the siblings are like, got it. So mom was really right on the money about her. And yeah, their mom apparently just kind of blabbed to them like, she's a really cute girl, and Tanichi doesn't realize
he is not picked up on any part of this. He's just thinking like, we are good friends.
Kana excused himself to go to the bathroom, so immediately Iemori's younger siblings are like, hey, what's going on with you two, huh? He's like, well, it's she's an underclassman at my school. And so his younger sister says, okay, but if she's just a random underclassman for your school, that's kind of weird if they just join in on family plans, even if they were invited. And Iemori's like, well, yeah, but Kana's just kind of like that, And his brother says, oh, like, look, I could tell that there was something there. And look, if the middle school boy can see it, then...
If your little brother's like, hey, dog, you're missing some signs, you should probably start paying some attention.
And they're like, yeah, like, look, she's pretty. She's clearly putting in effort for this connection. I kind of feel bad that you haven't caught on to it. Anyway, whatever. We won't get you.
And then, like, they eventually are like, look, if he's not getting it, we shouldn't, like, tell you the fucking rub. But at the same time, it's like, dog, come on. Like,
literal bro.
Yeah.
Kana shows back up after Iemori is left on that note. They go to ride some rides, and he's just, left to think like, could that mean that Kana... Nah. She's clearly too busy with work. Nah. They go up on a roller coaster, and Iomori is still distracted to the point that Kana's like, "Are you okay with scary rides?" And she's like, she's in position for the big drops. I've got my arms ready. Gonna do this. And Iomori's just like, "Nah, it could never happen between us." I do like the difference in their expressions afterwards, where Iomori is like, clearly has been like eyes shut, clinging to the handrail the entire time, and Kana was having a great time on it.
Yeah.
Kana says, "Hey, you want to ride again?" "No." And so she says, "Yeah, this is great. I know you have a weakness now, because I've only ever seen the dependable side of you, and I've always wondered if there's something you can't do. So for the next ride, okay, let's do something your level. How about the merry-go-round?" And she's like, "What is this? Why are you treating me this way?"
It is brutal. I remember taking a family member to an amusement park once, and the first ride we went on, this a family member didn't go to a lot of amusement parks. We went on the pirate ship, and that was enough that they were like, "I'm done." And
Is that the one that swings you?
Yeah.
I hate those.
But he was like, "This sucks. Never doing that again." And I was like, "Oh damn, I really don't know." I don't know what's lower than this, really, besides the merry-go-round.
I cannot tell you what a weird existence it is for me as someone who hates rides at amusement parks to live in Florida, where there are many amusement parks, famously.
I am not a huge theme park person, but if you lived in my part of Harrisburg, like, the only shit to do when you were a teenager, like, eventually you just went to Hershey Park. It just happened. But I had to be, like, the one who would be like, I'll go on the wooden roller coasters, but none of these big scary ones, thank you.
So, Kana and Iomori end up on a Ferris wheel, which seems to be implied that Iomori's siblings were just gonna like go, like practically shove them on there so that they could have some time alone. And so, it's getting dark, and they're going up, and Kana says, "We did a lot of fun stuff today." And she says like, "I'm glad that, I got to come with you. I've really got to know your siblings really well. It made my day, and I've been missing my family, and I got to learn about you." And Iomori says, "Oh, so that's what you meant." And Kana's like, "What do you mean? Meant about what?" "Oh, nothing. I was wondering why, you agreed to come along with my family. I didn't realize you were homesick." And he's like, "Oh, okay. It's not that she has a crush on me. Okay." And Kana says, "Well, of course I'd come, since you're the older guy I'm interested in."
It was a moment where you were like, "Oh, even he can't be dumb enough to miss this signal, right?"
Mm-hmm. And she's embarrassed. She's like kind of like pretending to look out the window so she doesn't have to look at him. And Iomori beat, huh?
Yeah. God, it's that line you have to say when you're like, "I'm just gonna say it." Since you're the older guy I'm interested in, you're like, "What are they gonna do? What are you gonna do?" The worst thing is like, "Huh?" Like, fucking don't make me say this shit again.
Yeah, and apparently he didn't quite hear her because he's like, "What did you just say?" Jimmy, and kind of like, "Oh, I'm getting ready for my new role in the movie." And
I have a character I have to play.
Character, yeah. And she says, "Yeah, it's based on a shoujo manga. My character likes an older boy at her school, and so I figured pretending to be on a date while we're at the music park would help me prepare. And you're the only older boy I know, so yeah." And she tries to like tease him, like, "Did I give you a heart attack?" And Iomori, to his credit, is like, "I mean, of course I'd be shocked if, like you're the one saying it. All right.
Yeah.
Good boy that you actually..."
But you didn't break her heart and be like, "Nope, meant nothing to me."
Right. Kana immediately is like, kind of like apologetic, because, Iomori's like, "Oh, would it be useful if I like helped you out?" And Kana's upset, like, "I'm sorry, yeah, like I'm bad at acting, so don't expect too much from me." And Iomori says, "I think that you would make a great actor." And she's like, "No, I'm not that good." And he says, "But you're always so expressive in your pinups." "That's right. Iamori reads those magazines for the articles, and he looks at those pictures for the expressions.
Yep. He's like, I'm just so impressed at the way you use light in all of your shots. And you're like, dog, that's probably not what she knows that's not why the exclusive reason that you're buying these magazines.
She refers to those parts of her body as her assets. She knows what's going on.
Yeah.
But it's nice that you paid attention to those things.
Yes. He is able to say, like, look, I know enough about modeling to say that you are a very good model.
Mm-hmm. He says you can make, all sorts of different expressions, and so I'm sure you could use that in your acting. Even if I didn't know you, I'd think you were the best out of the magazine. Calm down. So Kana is like, all right, well, in that case, help me a little bit more. And she gets up and moves over to his side of the Ferris wheel cart, or whatever they call that. And she says, look, I don't think that I fit into mature roles. I'm better at being the younger one. And she thinks to herself, next time I'm not going to let you off the hook so easily. If you've got feelings for me too, I feel like I could do anything that I set my mind to. Poor thing.
This is almost annoying because you're just like, yeah, I get it, dude. The manga's called fucking Hima-Ten, but there's a moment where you're like, I do want something to work out because this poor girl's about to eventually get her heart shattered one day, and you're just like, that's gonna suck. She just wants some attention from her older, her senpai or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Sure that things will work out okay for Kana in some way, but sure. Yeah, it does seem like it does seem inevitable that there's going to be some heartbreak for her in the future, possibly the distant future, but we'll see.
Yeah, this series is still very early on.
Speaking of romance, Quinn.
Yeah.
It's time for Sid Craft, Love is a Mystery.
Yeah, and Nick, this series is done by Swoosui, who we all love. We Never Learn, classic mangaka. I recapped that series. Nick, do you mind if I take this back? Because I got an inkling. We got a very We Never Learn-esque kind of chapter for us this week.
There was no butt floss in this chapter, I'll have you know.
None whatsoever. In fact, they have blankets on most of the time. And yet... So, yes.
Please, Quinn, I bequeath to you the recap of this series. Go right ahead.
Sid Craft, Love is a Mystery, Case 10. The drifting great detective nearly succumbs to the hot spring. So, we open the chapter. We see our hero and his three compatriots.
Let's just call them that.
Yeah. They are all crashed on an island. And they are just like, well, the ocean's really big, huh? Yeah. And the moon's rising. They have nothing else to really say. They're just like, this sucks. And we find out through a little
That's an ocean.
Yeah. Sid Craft takes a moment to be like, how did we end up? I wanted to call him Uega. He says, how did we end up on this island? And all the girls basically compatriots respond like, ugh. And we find out through a little flashback that they all made it onto the boat, which is great. Mm-hmm. All the events, they escaped the Elfie just fine. But their boat picked up on a different current than the other ones did. So theirs all went out to sea and seemingly got saved, while theirs ended up wrecking on this deserted island in a big storm, essentially. Yes. They're all very wet right now. They all have a little blanket. Their boat's crashed. From the rain, Nicholas! So there's a lot of concern. It's also getting very cold and it's very dark out. There's even a moment where Elio's like, oh, and I'm so sleepy. And they're like, you can't fall asleep. This is a bad time to be asleep right now, basically. So Sid's looking around and he sees a very particular kind of white rock, travertine, I think, or travertine, it looks like it's called. And he's like, oh, this distinct smell. I know it. Everyone, come here. And he leads them all to a hot spring.
In that voice, too.
Yes, everyone, come hither.
Everyone, quickly.
There's a hot spring here. And they get there, and yeah, there was a hot spring what seems like very close to them. They didn't really look that far, I guess. They were like, oh.
They were just like chilling out on that island being miserable for like, I don't know, 3 hours. And then they're like, maybe we should explore. Maybe we're not on an island. Maybe we're on a peninsula.
Yeah, maybe there's more to this. Yeah. So there's a moment where they're like, oh, cool, we can warm up here. And Sid's like, what a relief. Well, you girls go ahead, or you guys go ahead and get yourselves warmed up. And so Elio, he's still trying to go undercover, is like, well, what are you going to do? And he's like, I'm going to go running over there to warm myself up. And they're like, that's the worst thing you could do. And Elio kind of grabs him and is like, look, there's like natural blind spots here, so you'll be okay. But he is very panicked. He's like, no, I cannot bathe with the girls. If I do, I will die, surely. So we get a 2-page spread that kind of shows the situation where, imagine essentially a circle, and one of our characters, one of our protagonists, are in like sort of the cardinal points on this little thing. So they're all separated. They can't see each other, but they're in the same space.
Nice visuals to know, like, what their condition is and all of them. Sid's is really small for some reason. I don't know why.
Yeah.
See him.
It's weird. It seems like his isn't as important. We don't know his status as much as we know that all these other girls are like, ooh.
Yeah, they're all making expressions of like, ooh, I'm so glad that I'm not dying of hypothermia.
Yeah, I'm so glad I'm not dying on this island now. For some reason, oh gosh, what's her name? Souffle. Souffle has not taken off her fucking like choker. I don't know why it bothers me so much.
She's like, I'm still Sid's wife. Not done.
I'm like immediately like, does she have that thing? What's that? I don't remember from the show, but there was a character who had a ribbon tied around their neck, and if you took off the ribbon, their head popped off. And I'm like, are you that? Is that your thing? Why do you keep this fucking choker on the whole time? By the way, these are like sort of vacuum towels that they have discovered, because these really do cling to these girls' bodies as towels normally do.
I guess I spoke too soon about the butt floss, because Lulu's definitely is doing that. Yes.
A little bit, yes. So, Sid is like, oh, guys, you can't come over here. He goes to Uega whenever he has to do this voice, basically.
And they're all like, we know!
Yeah, Elio has a joke. They're like, really, this should be one of the girls doing this kind of bit, sir. So Souffle is like, Sid, why are you so confused about this? You must have been injured on the Elfie. And at the same time, Lulu's like, why are you being so suspicious? Aha! A weak point of some kind. So both of them start slowly stalking their way over there, and Sid can see it through like the shadows.
I love the way that they're drawn when they show up as silhouettes with their eyes, like they're horror monsters.
Yeah, I was like, they're demons in the mist in this moment as they stalk closer. So we cut over to Elio, who's like, this is really nice, and she's just grateful she's able to hide her identity. When Sid comes right over, it's like, Elio, the girls are coming after me for some reason. So Elio's like, this fucking sucks. If Master keeps this up, he's gonna find out I am a girl. So she's like, I can't let this happen. So she starts running away from Sid, who is in turn running away from the other two girls, and they're just running around these hot springs, which are
all in a circle with all the channels connected to them.
Yes.
So
it is
cue the Benny Hill music, basically.
Yes, exactly. And what they are unfortunately doing is also making themselves very warm, because it's a very fast, like you're running through a hot spring. So it's a very quick way to exhaust yourself. But they're like, hey, this hot spring feels actually kind of warm. Like it's like it getting a little bit hotter. And Sid takes that moment to be like, oh, I get it now. The reason why the trainer time forms over there, the wave lines, they weren't the same. It's because, and he grabs Elio real quick, and he's like, get away from the hot springs this instant. And he grabs all the girls, and he runs away. This hot spring is actually a giant geyser. And the giant geyser goes off, and they're like, oh. But now Elio is over top of Sid, and her towel's coming off, and her breasts exist. And she gets real nervous, and she grabs the towel. She's like, it's not what it seems, Master. Oh, what am I going to do? It's fine if Inspector Souffle knows, but Master has found out I couldn't sit by his side. And Lulu's like, Miss Elio, after he yelled out about the geyser, he passed out. You're safe. So, yeah. Souffle and Sid both basically passed out at this point, and aren't in a concern anymore. So, the great detective is such an innocent soul that he expired with his eyes open, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
Cut to the next...
Also, his soul has his stupid hair.
Yes. Cut to the next morning. They have warmed themselves up. They put their clothes back on. They're like, all right, we survived the night. Let's start thinking about how we're going to get home. And they're like, well, it'd be really great if like a boat passed by. Like maybe we should start trying to send signals. I think we should really start considering that we're going to be here a while. So we should get some like fish and some water.
Gather food.
Yeah. And Sid's friend, Mr. Lucci, shows up and is like, oh, hey, Sid Craft, fancy meeting you here. Would you like to borrow my fishing rod? And Sid's
you can catch fish in order to feed yourself with this. Yes, here you are.
And Sid's like, thank you so much, Mr. Lewis. This is really going to help me here. And they pause for a moment. And they're like, why the fuck are you here? He's like, oh, this is my island. I live here.
I love the way he phrases it, because he doesn't say, oh, it's my island. He says, what a silly question. I fucking love Luz.
Yeah, he's just like, yep, this is my private island where I indulge in my fishing hobby, and I come here on boat once every 3 days. And, yeah, they're like, cool, well, we've gotten rescued at this point. But there's a moment of, like, Elio and Souffle helping to, like, lift Sid up, and they're just like, oh, don't worry, I'm gonna help you, and... Souffle's like, no, I'm the main reason that you got injured. And even Lulu kind of pinches at the corner of his jacket. And she's like, you should stop being so stubborn and show a little vulnerability every once in a while. And Sid's like, you know what? Yeah, I'm sorry. But while she's doing that, Lulu is just like cursing the air, where she's just like, I haven't found his weak point yet. Nah, next time I'll find it, mother. And that is where we end the chapter.
Yeah. Oh, man. Yeah.
It's fine. It's fine. Look, I've just accepted Susui's gonna write these kinds of stories. Every so often, we're gonna get some mystery stuff, but then there are gonna be some times where they're just gonna run naked around a hot spring.
Yeah, this is very kind of just the sort of shit that we're kind of used to from him at this point. So... when this started happening, I was like, well, yep, yeah. This is a Saishi Susui series. Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Now, is there nice little bits here and there? Some of the jokes are funny at the beginning, and I do think that moment at the end is very cute too, where like all the girls are like helping him because he's too stubborn to look after himself, including Lulu, who's making the excuse for herself. It's like, oh, it's just because I'm trying to find a weakness. It's like, aw,
but
you're worried about him too.
I also do like how it is framed as though it's like, I care about you. You could show a little vulnerability, but you're like, in her mind,
so like,
show a little vulnerability so I know your weakness. All right. Nick, Ultimate Exorcist Kiyoshi.
Yes, it is chapter 30. Welcome to the Black Parade. It's June 6th at 1:35 a.m., which means that it is almost time for shit to go down. And we see that Yuta has gathered, well, I say gathered, has strung up some of his former allies to use them as sacrifices to allow the demons to appear from the underworld using the ability Ostium. And he summons, an MCU sky portal for them to come out of.
Yeah.
And he declares the Black Parade is on. So,
when I had someone message us. They were like, you should find a way to play it. And I was like, well, that's a very fast way to get the stream demonetized.
Absolutely.
And silenced on Twitch's end. But they were like, well, you can have Quinn could just sing it. And I was like, that's going to be extremely distracting. As I'm just like whispering. I'm like, will you be the savior, the broken?
The beating and the damn.
That's the thing. You can't not sing it once you start getting into it. I have a friend who's still into wrestling, or I should say rather, he just recently got into wrestling. And I guess John Cena is retiring or something like that. And he had mentioned I guess he's like, I'm gonna put it all out there, and even reference like basic thugonomics. And I had to mention to him, I was like, is he coming out to his old theme song? And
No.
as I did that, I immediately launched into the theme song, which I was like, I still know about 75% of these lyrics. This is a little distressing.
Some people do think that it is much better than his.
It is. Whether swinging or spitting, his discipline is unforgiving. Got you backing up in the defensive position.
I like his original theme, I'll have you know. The one that went, because he was just a guy in colored shorts.
Yeah, I was like, whenever you get to a guy whose gimmick is, I have ruthless aggression.
I have no idea if that was even remotely accurate. I was just making random guitar noises.
Well, Nick, it is an ass-kicking anthem, heavyweight or bantam, holding camps to ransom the microphone phantom. Teens hit the floor. This is the fight joint. Like a broken needle, kid, you missed the point. We dominate your offense with offense. It's no nonsense. My theme song hits. Get your reinforcements. All right, we're good.
Okay. Akari is sent to go and join up with the Iron Bloods, and Kiyoshi and Sakaki go to take on the demons, and there's just a gaggle of weird-looking demons that show up, including some that are on a train car thing. It is truly a weird parade.
It's a black parade, Nick. If I was ever going to see one, it would probably look a little something like that.
So Kiyoshi prepares to unleash a huge attack to deal with them, and Sakaki's like, no, conserve your power. We've got a plan to deal with all of those. And immediately, the parade just slams into an invisible barrier, and a bunch of them are just vaporized in a big scream of terror. And Sakaki says, like, yeah, we knew they were coming. We're not stupid enough to just sit around with our thumbs up our butts. We erected a barrier, a pentagram barrier that protects the whole city. And we are kind of shown on a map that there is a pentagram, that the central pentagon encompasses the entirety of Naraku City. So Sakagi indicates, yes, there are some strong top-level demons that can just pass through it. The Iron Bloods will deal with those, but we'll take care of the airborne demons as well, so that they can't just, shoot stuff at the city through it. And we cut to one of the airborne demons who is looking really smug, and it's like, we'll just attack from the sky and slaughter them. And he gets, like, Yoru bammed immediately. And we cut over to a sniper exorcist who is using a sniper rifle that has a cross on the end of the barrel.
Yeah, this is he's in
Matagi.
Yeah, I forget which group he's a part. Concordia? Is that the group's name?
I guess.
Yeah, whatever the group that was introduced at the hot springs was.
So he's taking some of them out, and then we get a younger member who we were introduced to. It's the guy who's got a big crush on Akari.
That's our brother, right?
Yeah, who's got a crush on her. So
you're not. I guess you weren't technically wrong with that. I just felt like we needed to add the context. Also, he's her brother.
So a demon lands behind, oh gosh, I can't remember her name. It's the girl that, did the bowling with Kiyoshi. Oh. And they're just kind of like casually, walking back from the convenience store. And they're like, I love late night trips to the convenience store. These are high school girls and it's 1:30 in the morning. So yes, it is very late for them. And one was like, weren't we supposed to shelter in place or something like that? There's a demon about to bite one of their heads off and they can't see it because it's a demon. So Akari's pervert brother kicks it in the face, knocks it out, and they're like, oh, who's that? And he says, like, hey, it's dangerous for two girls to be walking around at night, and there's that big storm warning. So for right now, tell me your Instagram handles. Yeah, and they're like, all right, we're going home. You're creepy and gross. And he's like, ah!
They're so terrified. The one girl lost the color of her hair.
Yeah, it went white immediately. He is told to stop being stupid. So, and he thinks to himself, Akari said she'd be with the Iron Bloods. Maybe I'll go help her out. And Matagi is like, stop trying to sneak off to your little sister. It just reads his mind.
You're her brother, right? Like he has to remind him too. Like, just to let you know, because I feel like this is getting a little weird. You are just her brother, right?
Dude.
Related by blood, perhaps? Because I've heard intriguing tales to the contrary.
Akari, meanwhile, is helping out little kittens and stuff as like debris is falling on the street during all the fighting. Yoko Ono, that's her name, is fighting off a very creepy looking demon, has an axe, and Akari is warned, okay, make sure you stay out of Miss Ono's combat zone, because when she fights, she just hacks through whatever is in her way. Don't let her cute looks fool you. After killing the demon, Yoko Ono looks over her shoulder and says, "Who just called me cute?" Yeah. Akari also gets upset because, like, you know, she's like being like thought of as like, Yoko actually is like, stop calling me like a little kid. She starts attacking the other agent, and then Akari, her seen maybe once previously, hair antenna thing starts going crazy. It points straight up and it's going up so hard that it's gonna rip her hair out. And she's like, oh, it responds to demons. Something really bad is coming. And the 13 club's high-level demon lords start to emerge from the portal, and we see half a dozen of them all standing together, descending on the palm of a really big demon, it seems, as well.
Yes. There is, I guess, the series isn't ending yet, but we need to kind of delay it out. So even though we know Kiyoshi could probably clear all these characters if he needs to, here are some other characters for people to fight to like give some dramatic tension, essentially.
This will be the fake Karakura Town fights that took forever.
Pretty much, yeah. It's fine. I didn't really think too much of it. Black Parade's here, though. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
We're going to talk real quick about Marriagetoxin, and that there is a tiny little bonus chapter called Hella Service to Blow You Away, which is just about how Naruko basically pinch plays music for the restaurant that we just helped at. And he's good. It's pretty much it. Everyone enjoys eating food while he plays.
Yes.
That's what it is. Anyway, Marriagetoxin will be back next time.
Yep, Konatsu is here because he's not Komatsu, and I'm getting kind of sick of seeing his face.
Yeah, I'll be honest. This is a character I could do with less of.
He just doesn't do anything. He just panics, and that's kind of just his thing. Like, oh, how are we gonna deal with this? I don't know. You could be good at your job.
Damn. All right. Well, in the meantime, there is some new Exorcist to talk about, which was a chapter that was so good until the end. I was so on board with it until this shit came to an end. I was like, this shit blows.
Chapter 84, Threat. Kiyoshi it looked like he took out one of the Shikigamis that he was going up against because, you know, he hit the head, the core, but it still hasn't released Karasu Tengu. And so Karasu Tengu's like, how much have you grown? Just kind of repeating that whole thing again. Is it Kaname, I think is his name? Or Yoshi as well. Is like, how does this guy have me on the defensive? I literally just wanted to be here so I could beat the shit out of this guy. I wasn't worried in the slightest. I thought he would just be a punching bag and I could just beat the shit out of him, and I was wrong. He could be a threat to me and to the Fujino family. And he recalls, you know, being entrusted with this by his captain. And he's like, all right, fine. This is not a good time anymore. This is work now. And he goes for Gakuro and has transformed and put on armor and has this creepy looking mask over this clawed form now, and starts to press Gakuro, throwing a bunch of punches at him, which Gakuro can barely defend against. And so Yoshi's like, all right, time, I'm on with the mission now. Got his soul armor up, summons a bunch of these like bladed wing things from his back. And Kiyoshi's like, all right, I can't get too close, so Zenodark! And he sends out his sword thingies, his multiple sword thingies to set up an attack. Doesn't matter. he just kind of smashes the floor underneath them, like entirely, just caves it all in until there is just like a narrow bridge that they're fighting on, so that there is nowhere to dodge to side to side. Then he gets behind Gakuro really quickly, so yeah, I guess didn't change the terrain that much, but whatever.
No, he just turned in real to the side and he squeezed in. He was like, inhale, and he just, excuse me. The idea of
I'm behind you!
Super speed.
Let me just scooch past you here.
Yeah, just give me a sec. Just scooch.
Scooch. Can you I'm sorry.
Apologies. Yeah.
I'm trying to go that way. You're trying to go to the side. I'll move. Okay.
But I gotcha.
Gakuro turns around and evades and attacks back. It never works. But he tries to return a blow, and it's dodged. And so he is pressured again. And now Karasu Tengu realizes, like, oh my god, with the narrow terrain like that, like there's nowhere to go to. And also, it's really easy to just lose your footing and fall because you can't dodge to the side. So Gakuro is being peppered with blows every time that he tries to backslash. He gets backstepped. But this time, one time he manages to actually graze the armor, and some like blood starts to come out, and then Gakuro follows up with a big overhand slash, and more blood starts to come out of his mouth. So Yoshi's like, how the hell is this guy doing this? How can he still move? Fuck this. I'm killing you. Even if it kills me, I am not letting you through. And Gakuro does something.
He sure does.
He swings his sword in a way that I'm not sure what he does specifically. But it was an attack he was charging up before, you see, when he gathered in shadows and stuff. Oh, no, wait, that's not him. Sorry. This is the attack that Yoshi was charging up, and so he charged it, and he's like, I'm gonna get behind you really fast! Whoa! And Gakuro is, like, surrounded in shadows while this big curling bladed fist thing is coming in, because he just kind of stretched and boosted over Gakuro.
Yes.
And then he's like, I got you! And he just smashes Gakuro into the floor, into this bridge that they're on. And Gakuro's like, oh man, it's hard to move. Like my body doesn't belong to me. Vice Captain Kabane, that's his name, is tough. No matter how I attack him, he never gets weaker. What do I do? What would damage this guy? And Kaname starts panting. Blah, 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 blah. And then Gakuro stands up. And Kaname says, what's with you? Why did you get back up? I could feel it when I hit him. This guy's bones, his skull, and arms and legs are all falling apart. It's not a question of willpower. He shouldn't be physically capable of this. And yet, he's... And Gakuro says, just a little more. Just a little more. And he's got the wild eyes now. And Kaname says, is this not working? I mean, obviously. What gives? What are you, freak? And he goes into attack, but his legs falter. He's got no strength in them anymore. And he curses as Gakuro attacks him again. Ha! Slash to the chest. Blood goes everywhere.
It's just like such a boring conclusion. Like, what the fuck? Gakuro's cool way out of this situation. He's like, I'm just gonna keep getting back up. Because you know some fucking chuckle fuck's about to show up with a fucking magic bean for him to eat or some shit to get full strength again. Like, he's just going to need to fight someone else after this. So, I don't know. This just feels like an annoying way to be like, isn't Gakuro cool? Also, the first time I read this, I thought that Yoshi's legs at the end were shaking because he was so scared of Gakuro, and I was like, if that's the case, this manga's dog shit. Because that's an embarrassing way to try to make this character be like, oh, Gakuro's so cool, I might just piss myself, actually.
So, it's not even that it's just lame. It's just that it's like it's not inventive or interesting. It's like we know Gakuro keeps getting back up. That's just his thing that he does. It's his one defining quality. And so yes, it's consistent, but it's like, all right, well, why did he take another step and beat this guy? He didn't. He just beat him.
Yeah.
It's like, why is he stronger? He just is. All right, fine. Okay. Akane-banashi, story 144. I have something. Akane is gone home. Quinn, she went back to Tokyo after that excursion to Paris. And we see as she is boarding the plane, and she's putting her bag in the overhead bin, that there is a little charm that's attached to her bag. It's got like a duck or a swan of some kind on it. And she smiles fondly, and she flashes back to 3 years before. We learn that Isho sent her to Europe on an excursion and said, you are not to return to Japan until you have something to show for it. And so Akane is like, fine, I'll do it. And we get a little bit of details filled in that like actually it was Ken who kind of set her up with like, you know, a visa and stuff like that. We get a more proper introduction to Emily Dupont, who was the woman that we saw in the previous chapter, was kind of like calling her away from Kashio. And we learn like, yeah, so her dad's a Frenchman and her mom is Gakumon Sensei's daughter. So Gakumon is her grandfather. And so she's kind of like charged with like helping out Akane. She says like, yeah, I'll do subtitles for your Rakugo performances. And immediately like Akane is like, wait, what? You're his granddaughter, like disbelieving it, and Gakumon's like, why is that hard for you to believe? And when you look at them like next to each other, you can kind of tell because they've got like similar eyes and stuff, similar eyebrows as well, I think. But
also just that level that you're like, when she gets older, I think she will resemble what I know of Gakumon a lot more.
Yeah. There's a little bit where like, you know, the two of them, you know, are dining in France together, and Akane's like, oh, what's that? You like spread it on the bread, and it's and she's like, oh yeah, it's butter jam. Have you never had it before? And Akane's like, no, never. And also we learn like, it's like, oh, she came up with this name Aka for her right away, or her nickname, and Akane's like, oh yeah, I like that. It's nice. And she reflects at that point, like, you know, I've been in some challenging situations as a Rakugoka, but this is like really different. This is more of a challenge to me as a Japanese person. And there's all sorts of details that she's having to pick up. Like, you know, she goes outside, there's no power lines anywhere because of the way that Paris is. She's warned by Emily, don't carry your backpack on your back because it's too dangerous. Carry it on your front. And as she is looking over stuff, she just kind of thinks like, I feel alone. And she looks at her phone and she remembers, you know, all of her older brother apprentices. And she has to give her kind of like a, you know, a wake up smack in the face to be like, come on. We made a promise. We're going to get strong. We're going to meet back up and reunite. So I can't just go running to them for help. I've got to figure it out myself. And so to give herself confidence and strength, she starts reciting Jugemu. And she starts going through the name, and someone overhears her. And she looks up, and it's a little French boy.
Yeah, don't worry, Nick. I'll play this character for you.
Okay.
K-Fast too? Nick, now you go.
Huh?
Chanson?
Japon comedy Rakugo fun.
Comedian?
So Akane is like, all right, how do I explain this to this kid? And so she starts acting out a conversation to herself. And she starts kind of like launching into a French version of Jugemu right there. And she's like, je m'appelle Emily. Bonjour. Je viens du Japon et je m'appelle Jugema Jigema Nukono Sukure Sukaijar Sugyo, like it goes through the whole thing. And the little French kid is confused for a second and then goes, Jamapel, and Jugema Jigema goes through the whole thing again like that. And the more that she goes through it, the more the little French kid is like, and does just and laughs. And Akane gets a realization. The little French boy is called away by his mother, runs up the steps, but stops and takes out the little charm that we saw. And
poor boar!
That might be the closest one. Gives over the charm to her, and that's sweet.
A Betty Tot!
I don't even know where that extra E came from. So Maurice, the little boy, waves goodbye to Akane, and she keeps the charm, and she thinks, I think I felt lonely because I had nothing to lean on. I wasn't able to believe in the things that I'd built up. But now, I'm all right. I do have something. And she gets some of her inspiration back. She goes out with Emily, and who takes a little promotional picture of her in her full Rakugo garb, posing with the Eiffel Tower. And she thinks, I have Rakugo. In the present, Akane's flight ends, and she's feeling really bad because, cross transatlantic flight just happened. Trans-Pacific flight, probably. No, wait, transcontinental. What am I saying? France to Japan. So, yeah. And so she's like, oh, God, I got to take the stage soon. She's just getting off this plane and going to Rakugo. But she looks at the bag, looks at her charm, and she thinks, thanks for those 3 years, France. And gives herself another little lighter wake-up slap. And she says, heads up, Tokyo. I'm back.
I don't know how to feel about this because I don't know if we're ever going to see Emily Dupont again and stuff like that. Like, it's difficult to tell what, like, consequence these 3 years in Japan are going to have, or in France, rather. And, like, how much of this was just, like, here you go. This was everything significant that happened in Japan. She met Emily Dupont and a little kid. She did Jugamoon to the kid and got a little thing. So I'm sure her skills will have evolved, and we'll see something in this upcoming competition that'll give us like a new way forward for whatever. But it does feel like one of those things where I need to kind of see where the end goal in all of this is, because I would be kind of disappointed if this France trip just ends up mostly being sort of an off-screen like power boost for her.
Yeah. I definitely understand where you're coming from. I thought the story itself was very charming. I like that there's this, it transcends language, and this is kind of like the moment where she realizes that it has that. It's also very humanizing to see Akane like this, where she's just fucking lonely because she's left her, all of her fellow princesses, and also, her family behind, all her other friends too. That it seemed like she was on pretty good terms with regularly. And so it's nice to just have this moment, even if nothing else does come of it. But I do agree with you that I hope that it's not the only thing that we see.
Exactly.
It does feel like a big deal that we were introduced to this character who was helping her out, and maybe Emily will make another appearance, or maybe we'll get more flashbacks kind of sprinkled throughout the rest of the story. I really like this chapter in terms of how this helps to give Akane parallels not just to Shiguma in her training, but also very importantly to Isho, who learned the big lesson about having nothing and having Rakugo, and how they're kind of two sides of the same value and strength that you can have. And I like that it's not really forced, it's just kind of like put out there.
And it's also, not for nothing, but a kinder way to do that. Whereas, like, Isho had nothing and was also broke and destitute. Akane does have, like, a set-up home and stuff like that. So she is not going to be thinking, where is my next meal coming from? She just gets to focus on her art. So I do think there is, like, an unspoken kindness to Isho in that, where he's like, I need you to go through what I went through, but also I'm not a monster.
Mm-hmm. And also, like, showing that she is learning the lesson in a different way, too.
Yeah.
As in, the lesson that she learned is the bond that this can give you with other people, as opposed to, like, an internal strength that it gives you that only you can rely upon.
All right, Nick, are we ready to wrap up this week of manga by discussing this week's One Piece? This is chapter 1138, The Harley.
A Holly.
A Holly. And we open our cover page. Hey, Nick, the building that's shaped like Who's Who, it turns out Who's Who was in it.
It was Who's Who all along.
So we open with Loki as he is not doing super great.
Nope.
And he is muttering. He's like, for as much as you look like him, you gotta be related to that red-haired pirate, right? And Shamrock does not say anything initially, and Gunko's like, hold your tongue. That's nothing you need to know about. And Loki's like, yeah, sure. It's not my business, but, like, one of the strongest pirates in the world and a celestial dragon on opposite sides of, like, the world power, and you have you look exactly the same, like, people are gonna wonder what's up with that. So Shamrock does just say forward, that pirate is my estranged younger twin brother, and he returned to the Holy Land once, but he seems to prefer the filth of the lower world. And that annoys Loki. He's like, not that he came back, but he's like, oh, you returned, huh? Then I guess I hate both of your bloodlines, huh? Once I get these chains off, you're both done for, essentially. And he's just taunting at this point. He's like, you know what's going to happen, right? Like, I just watched all of my friends get killed. Like, I'm going to come after you. So Shamrock's like, what, you're dreaming of threatening me? And Goku's like, hey, don't go hog wild. And Shamrock's like, no, sure. I'm not going to dirty my own hands. You do it, Cerberus. And he holds out his sword, and like a bunch of shadows come off of it, and a giant three-headed dog sort of made of this like shadowy smoke or whatever come out, and he still has his sword, but all the dogs have a big sword in their mouths.
Yep.
Shamrock says, that's my sword. They all start like the collars on their necks start to kind of spin. I don't really know why they do that, but they do. And in the meantime, Gunko is using her arrow fruit to just sort of make like a plane for them to leave on. They're like, all right, extinguish your presence, Commander. We need to go, essentially. And they both fly off. And Shamrock, as they're flying off, says, hey, if you should survive, then come and kill me. I'll be ready for you. But as they fly off, Loki's like, you have to be kidding me. Even I can't handle something like this. And the two Cerberus dog heads launch themselves just... Wait, all three?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I guess, yeah, all three do. They launch themselves into Loki.
They just get Voltroned.
Yeah. He just fucking fires them out, essentially. They hit Loki. We don't know exactly what happens. But we cut over to Shamrock, who's saying pacifying them all at once is going to be too hard. We need to get to the warriors' children first. So call one more. And go ask which one. So we're about to learn a little bit more about what these people are capable of. Cut over to the castle. The giants that Shamrock knocked out have woken up, and they're like, I know what I'm telling you. It was red hair. And Luffy's like, no, you're liars. Shanks would never beat up somebody like you without a reason. They're like, yeah, I know, but like, I know what he looks like. It's him, dude. I don't know what to tell you. And Luffy's very upset. He's like, but what you're saying isn't true. That wasn't Shanks. Shanks is a cheerful guy who isn't full of himself, and he never does anything like that. And there's a very cute moment where Nami's like, you really trust him, like, so much. And he's like, yeah, of course I do. And I'm really upset because you shouldn't be accusing people of things like this.
I'm of two minds about the follow-up there, because he says, like, wouldn't you be bad if someone said something like that about Mollymere? And she's like, you mean Bellamere? It's like,
He's like, look, I remembered she was important to you. I didn't promise I'd remember the names. I've been calling that dude.
Do you remember all of why she was important to me, Luffy.
I've been calling that big giant dude Paul for a while. I just realized it's not Paul. So I feel kind of shitty about that already. There's like a moment where it's like, I guess they're like identical twin brothers then, I guess. And Luffy's like a little skeptical. He's like, Shanks' brother? I mean, I guess that could be true. But I've never heard him talk about his family. He's always been on the pirate ship. So I always kind of thought that Roger and Riley and the Raleigh Pirates, or the Roger Pirates, they were his family. Aside from Buggy.
It's very
particular. Gotta throw that in there. Cut over to Ripley, who is walking. I guess I also should note it seems like someone is approaching the castle as well. Cut over to Team Frankie. This is Ripley and Frankie. They're doing the Jewel Tree Atom tour. And Frankie's like, wow, this tree's fucking huge. I guess the wood from it really shouldn't be that rare after all. And there's a moment where Ripley's like, is it that valuable? Maybe I should be selling it. And he's like, you should be stopping it. Saul already reprimanded me once. This is a holy tree. They shouldn't be letting pieces get cut from it. But he sees...
She holds him like an action figure while doing that, too.
Yes.
It's funny.
It's very cute. And he's like, hey, I guess that would explain why the wood is so expensive, because mercs have to come here and chop it down. But he is shown a mural, and Ripley has explained that these are children's drawings from a very long time ago, and they've been fossilized into tree bark. But interestingly, they are estimated to have been there from somewhere between 900 to 800 years ago. The Void Century. So Frankie, understandably, is like, holy shit, we should show this to Robin. Like, he is immediately...
She'll know what this is.
He is immediately thinking about his wife, and I think that's very beautiful. But he is looking up at this mural, and he's like, hey, for a drawing of Elbaf, they don't all look like giants. And Ripley's like, yeah, actually... If you're familiar with history, you've known that there's wars between the races, but never really cultural exchanges. So maybe that just means this was nothing more than a child's dream. Cut over to the school. We see some of the kids. They're all having some good fun. Robin is being shown the Harley now. It is the sacred text, essentially, of the Elbath warriors. And there's so many different interpretations of this, all that sort of stuff. But it means that the sun god, and all the warriors of Elbath believe in it and have a different personality, depending on who tells the story. And isn't that crazy? And Robin's like, can I read it? And it's like, absolutely. It's split up into 3 chapters. And they say that the 3rd chapter describes the world we live in today, and that something's going to happen. In fact, all the legends of Nika are seeded throughout. And one common feature in them is that he always shows up laughing to this rhythm. And he does the little drums of liberation thing. And Robin says, okay, well, shall I read it now? And she starts... reading off the story, The First World. And Nick, we get a 2-page spread to end the chapter of them explaining the 3 parts of this story. And I'm just going to read them verbatim because we do not have all of the context necessary to fill this in, but we do have some pieces. So, the first world, within the world, there was fire. Mankind succumbed to greed and touched the forbidden sun. The enslaved prayed, and the sun god appeared. The earth god raged, and with its serpent of hellfire, shrouded the world in death and darkness, and they will never meet. The second world, within the void there was breath. The forest god tamed demons, and the sun spread the fires of war. Those of the half-moon dreamed, those of the moon dreamed. Man killed the sun and became god, and the sea god stormed. And they never met. And the third world, which is the world we are currently living in this universe, within the chaos there was emptiness. The inconvenient remnants recall the promised day and hear the voice of the half moon. The sun god dances and laughs, guiding the world to its end. The sun returns and brings a new morning, and they will surely meet.
Yeah. And there's all sorts of stylized visuals.
Yeah, well, we can see in the one that seems to be covering the underneath where the third world is, there is a figure holding the sun, and then a very Nika-like figure coming towards him. We see a giant behind them. We see that big robot like Emmett, and we even see like merfolk and oh gosh, what are the animal folk called? Minks. We see minks in there. So it does look like, and that does seem to fit. One Piece is slowly becoming a more diverse, like the Straw Hats are a more diverse crew and stuff like that. Different
Yeah, and right in
cultures
the
there.
middle, there's this shadowy silhouette that's got a horn helmet. Oh wait, that's Frankie.
I thought, but the only other way I could go with that is like, yeah, if you look in the corner, I think that's Jin. I think he's in the lore. That's why he's significant.
No, there's no text anywhere on this mural except right there in the corner. It says "To be continued."
Yeah. So look, I don't think we necessarily know all of what this is meant to be. I don't honestly think we can know. We don't have enough information. We know little bits of things, and it is very notable that the moon is being referenced and people who dream of the moon. We know there's a god on the moon, Nick. So there's some interesting elements there that I'm curious to see if that's going to play into all of this. It feels like we're kind of getting the lore for what happened during those previous points throughout the history that we don't know, but it's in a very vague, prophetic kind of term. So I don't know. I'm very intrigued to see where this all goes. I am not a smart enough theory crafter to sit here and tell you exactly what this is all about, but yeah, I mean, it makes sense. Something probably did happen to Luffy, or not Luffy, Nika in the previous sort of thing, and the bad guys defeated them and then started the world government, and here's where we're at, where we are now. And the sea god raged, kind of does make sense with some of the figures we've seen. So I don't know. It seems like there's just really interesting implications all over this chapter.
On the tree, on the right side of it, the shape there that
The
the
figure.
people carrying motes of light are kind of climbing up it. It kind of looks like an elephant. It could be Zunisha.
Okay. I could
But
see a little bit
I
of
mean,
that.
it's such a weird shape that it could not be an elephant at all, especially because there's like all sorts of stuff like in front of it too.
Well, it's interesting because it's like a elevator system where people are getting this sun and then it handing it to like an emu like figure. They definitely have like the crown that emu seems to have, and then after they do that, the little shine that they have shrinks smaller, and then they're going back down. So I don't know. There's a lot of stuff going on here that I'm just curious to see. Someone down the line is gonna like point to this chapter and be like, Oda said this shit. Like this shit's been on the docket for a while. I wish I could sit here and be like, what a chapter, but like I have no idea how to dissect all
Yeah.
of this. I don't even really know where to start.
The building in the far right seems to be a factory because there's gears all over it. So it seems to be processing the light that they bring up from below. Yeah, that tree, that not the big tree, but the little one next to it. Is that a tree that's shooting a laser from a harmonica? Like,
Which one are you looking at?
so directly in between it's the fire that they're breathing at each other. Okay.
Okay.
Directly between the hanging bird-like figure on the tree
Yeah.
and then the giant serpent, their flames going at each other. It sort of looked to be like an evergreen tree.
Oh,
Like,
I was like, what harmonica are you seeing?
and
Although,
then the arc, it looks like a harmonica
yeah,
because of its positioning
but
there.
that does look a lot like the arc that Enel Inaru rode. So I don't know, just a lot of stuff. Yeah, a lot of things going on. Lore as well that I feel like we need to consider. But good chapter. Excited to see where we go from here. And I'm excited because it does look like the Holy Knights are going to make a move here. And we're going to get some kind of conflict. So I'm excited to see that with the Straw Hats. Like, I feel like Luffy is someone's going to save Loki at some point here, or he's going to find a way out of this. It's going to be crazy. And I'm excited to see that as well. Like, I just think like all the elements are like coming together.
Yeah. With that being said, Quinn, what was your favorite chapter overall this week?
I think, gosh, part of me wants to give it to One Piece, even though it's not really like a hype chapter. It's one of these ones I just kind of look at and like mystique, like, okay, there's a lot here. I don't know if I could really even like enjoy this chapter the way it needs to, because I feel like you need to like really sit down and be like, oh my gosh, this is what that means for this theory or whatever. So I think I'm going to, God, it can't be the like 5-page long Spy Family chapter, can it?
It could.
I think it might be. If I'm going to think of like
a full chapter,
it's either that or the Blue Box chapter. I guess I'll give it to Blue Box, and then I'll give my character of the week to like Anya.
Oh, she's too cute.
She is extremely cute.
My chapter of the week is also going to be Blue Box. I thought it was just a really effective, hey, this shit meant a lot to Yumika too. And I loved a lot of the lines within it, just describing that feeling of how much the sport can mean to them. Of like, I just want this to last a little bit longer, which goes hand in hand with a lot of the way that sports in general and high school life in general has been portrayed through the series. There's always been a very definite note of nostalgia and wanting to hold on to precious memories while they're being made. And this was, just like a good example of that for the series. My MVP is going to be Akane. I really liked the note that she goes through in her journey here, where she has that feeling of like, I'm on my own, but I can't just, go running to someone to help me, because this is supposed to be about me growing separate from those people that I want to rely on. We agreed that we would go our separate ways and come back stronger together. So I can't just go running to them because I'm feeling lonely. And there's a lot of little poignant moments that happen in that chapter with her meeting the kid and everything surrounding it. Which, yes, guys, means I didn't do Ichi the Witch again, but it's okay.
Next time. Every week, Nick has that little moment where he walks by the suit of Iron Man on her, and he's like, "Next time, I'll be War Machine."
Don't you compare me to Terrence Howard?
No, you got equal skills on math, I believe, and you both. Nick, I bet you two should do a podcast together.
Oh.
The audience, by the way, picked One Piece as their chapter of the week, and a tie between Yoru from Chainsaw Man and Kafka from Kaiju No. 8 as the character of the week.
Okay. All right, then. Well, that's going to do it, everybody. We want to thank you for joining us for this episode of Weekly Manga Recap. We'll be back next week with more here on twitch.tv/RoloT. You can follow us on social media on BlueSky. She is RoloT. I am Nick F. Time. And we are Weekly Manga Recap, which has also got its own account. And also check out WMR Votes, which you can check out the MVP and favorite series voting on there. And also other things, too. It is good. We have our stuff posted on Podbean, weeklymangarecap.podbean.com if you want the audio version. And it's also posted to iTunes and Spotify, all those places that get the podcast feeds. The video version can be found on youtube.com/weeklymangarecap and features an opening sequence by Milo Jack Stillitz and Wensleydale Cheddar. It also occasionally features title card artwork by Steve Mann, whose work you can find just by searching for Steve Mann art. You can find it in many different places. We also have a Discord, which will be linked wherever this show is posted. If you join the Discord community, we have some awesome people there talking about the chapters as they come out ahead of the show, talking about the recommendations that we have taken, and all sorts of other stuff as well. And that can also help you find the link to the Google document maintained by Ninja X3i, which has the MVP and favorite series voting. It's got the supplemental votes that we do at the end of the year. You can ask questions on there in a special section. We did a Q&A episode quite recently, just a few weeks ago, during an off week for Shonen Jump. So send us more questions now, because if you do it now, then you get
You're
a chance
at the top of the queue, yeah.
You'll actually get it answered the next time we do one, if you ask it right now. And that'll about do it. If you join the Discord, you also will get a notification when the stream goes live. Won't that be nice?
All right. Well, that is going to do it for Weekly Manga Recap this week. I hope everybody enjoyed themselves.
And if you want more, we've got a Patreon. So patreon.com/Weekly Manga Recap if you want to monetarily support the show and get more content too.
Yes. And that's what life's all about, Nick. It's about more content.
Well, that's what it seems like a lot of these things.
Well, we can't be sad about it because then people get sad. So we have to be...
I'm not being sad. I'm just being matter of fact.
Oh, okay. Could you be glib about it?
Oh, that's what it is these days. You know, it's just all about content. Well, what can you do?
All right. Now, could you be ornery about it?
It's just about content these days. I don't know what. No, back in my day, we had 3 channels.
Now, be romantic about it.
So, no more. So,
Okay.
tap now.
Bye.